Good afternoon and welcome. Today is August 13, 2020. This is the Las Vegas Clark County Library District Board of Trustees monthly meeting. We are at the Summerlin Library. Welcome. At this time, it's 6:01 p.m. Ms. Ellison, may we have roll call?
Chair Ortiz.
Here.
Trustee Bilbray Axelrod.
Present.
Trustee Benavides.
Here.
Trustee Wadley Mune.
Here.
Trustee Foyt.
Here.
Trustee Francis Drake. Here. Trustee Melendrez. Trustee Raymaker.
Allison, I just got a text from Trustee Melendrez, and he does not have the link. If someone could text it to him, I don't have that ability on my phone.
I will go ahead and get it to him.
Thank you.
Trustee Raymaker.
Here.
Trustee Rogers.
Here.
Trustee Wilson.
Here.
You have a quorum, and I'll get the link to Trustee Melendrez.
Thank you very much. At this time, if we would please stand and so we can do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening again and welcome. At this time, we are at the Summerlin Library. If you see us leave, please leave with us. There's 2 exits in the back and 2 exits in the front. Do not hesitate in case of an emergency. Public comment. Topics raised in this items must be limited to matters on today's agenda. If you wish to comment on any item appearing on this agenda, there is an email that's been posted, boardcomments@lvccld.org. boardcomments@lvccld.org. Please identify which agenda item you'd like to comment on, and any comments will be read at the end of the meeting. At this time, we have speaking opportunities for anybody that signed up for 3 minutes, and you may not transfer that time to anybody else. Ms. Ellison, is there anybody wishing to speak or have public comment?
We did receive public comment from Mr. Graham Williams via email, and I will read it. It is regarding item 8A, and he tiles it comments on choosing the new executive director. We know 2 things about the future that the new executive director will have to deal with. Resources are finite, and patrons' expectations will increase. The city and the county don't have spare revenue. More funding for the library is only possible if there is less funding for something else. Because of the role of the library in the social safety net, there's an argument to be made that when funding for the police is cut, some of the savings should go to the library. If I was interviewing candidates, I'd ask them how they would argue for cutting some part of the city-county budget in favor of the library. It's not enough that the new executive director be able to do more with less. When resources are finite, adding new programs means cutting existing ones. We need a director who can do less with less in some areas and more with more in others. An important question for candidates is, what have you cut? What programs have you stopped entirely? If a candidate cannot answer that question, if they've never cut a program at any time in their career, they're a caretaker, not a leader. It's true that the new executive director will need to be a cheerleader and motivator, but they will also need a clear view of where the library can improve. I would ask candidates to identify 2 or 3 areas in their current library that need to change. The library website and catalog is perhaps the library service where patron expectations will change the most over the tenure of the new executive director. It is certainly the first or second most important way that patrons interact with library services. There are 2 obvious problems in enhancing the website. The first is that there's no simple way of finding out what the patrons want, and the second is that there's no limit to what you can spend on it. While you shouldn't expect an executive director to be a webmaster, I would want to see some evidence that a candidate has the ability to develop a patron-focused plan for the site. And that's the public comment on item 8A from Mr. Graham Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. That'll be entered into the record. Are there any other speakers, Ms. Ellison? If physically present?
My apologies, not at this time, Chair Ortiz.
Thank you very much. At this time, you have a board agenda either on your computer or on paper. Please take a look at it. At this time, I'll accept a motion to accept the proposed agenda for possible action.
So moved.
So moved by Robin Wadley Munier. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Elizabeth Hoyt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. All right, before you, we have some board minutes from our previous board minutes. And we have the ones that are available, our regular board minutes for, and please correct me, Ms. Ellison, if I'm wrong. Regular board meeting, May 21st, 2020. Regular board meeting, June 11th, 2020. And regular board meeting, July 23rd. So please take a look at that, and if there's any corrections. And we'll take one individually.
Those are the correct minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes from May 21st, 2020, regular board meeting.
So moved.
So moved by
Second.
Shanda Raymaker. Was there a second? Who was the second?
I'll second.
Second by Elizabeth Foyt. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the regular board minutes from the meeting of July 11th, 2020. Try to say that 10 times. I'm sorry, June 11th, thank you.
So moved.
I'm sorry, can you identify yourself?
So moved. Sandra Raymaker.
Senator Raymaker, is there a second?
Second.
By Trustee Rogers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And the last one that's available for you is the regular board meeting minutes from July 23rd, 2020. I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes. So moved by Merlin Francis Drake. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Raymaker, Senator Raymaker. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. At this time, let's move on with our agenda. Under item number 5, Chair's Report, and welcome our Attorney Jerry Wilt. What I'd like to do at this time is thank you very much. We function as a board, but we also have subcommittees and standing committees. And at this time, the standing committee is the executive committee, which is identified as myself, Vice Chair Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod, Kelly Benavides, Secretary, Robin Wadley Munier is the Treasurer. Okay, and then for Finance and Audit for this coming year, until the next term, I'd like to appoint Brian Wilson as the Chair of the Finance and Audit Committee. And who else would like to be on the Finance and Audit Committee? Let me actually go down the list. Trustee Benavides, would you like to continue on that?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. And Trustee Rogers?
Yes, I think I was recently appointed, so I don't mind remaining on the committee.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to be on that committee? Okay, Robin Wadley Munier?
I'm also happy to be on it if need be. This is Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod.
Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, so the Finance and Audit Committee, and you'll meet separately, and then provide a recommendation to the board. The chair is going to be Brian Wilson. Members Kelly Benavides, Robin Wadley Munier, Dr. Rogers, and Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod. The next committee is the Risk Management Committee, Marilyn Francis Drake, will you continue as the chair? Okay. Marilyn Francis Drake, the chair. Who else would like to be on that committee?
I would, Sandra Raymaker.
Sandra Raymaker,
I would. Elizabeth Foyt?
Elizabeth Foyt, okay. Anybody else? Okay.
Chair Ortiz, I noticed that trustee Melendez has been on. Now, I sent him the link. Do you want to, hold on and ask him if he makes it in, or do you want to just keep him on or not?
Let's see here. Let's keep him on the Risk Management Committee. Actually, we'll wait a couple minutes and see if he wants to switch over to. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, so for right now, from the Risk Management Committee, and your role is to look at our insurance policies and anything that impacts risk, limiting our risk. And you'll have presentations on a separate meeting and then provide input to the board with recommendations. And that chair is Marilyn Francis Drake, trustee. Sandra Raymaker, trustee. Elizabeth Foyt, and then we'll add whoever else wants to be on it. The next committee is the Bylaws Committee. Dr. Rogers, it doesn't involve too much, but the bylaws every so often have to be updated and refreshed. Would you take over as the chair of the Bylaws Committee?
Sure.
Okay. And that's our governing documents, so thank you very much. Who else would like to be on the Bylaws Committee?
Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson on the Bylaws Committee. Anybody else?
I would like to, Chair.
Shannon. Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod?
Yes.
Anybody else? And Robin Wadley Meunier. Okay. And so we'll come back to Jose Luis in just a minute, but for right now, on the Bylaws Committee, Dr. Rogers is the chair, with with Brian Wilson as a committee member, Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod, and Robin Wadley Meunier, for the record. Thank you, Ms. Ellison. And we'll come back to Jose Luis Melendez and see which committees he wants to be on. Moving on, at this time, I'd like to give Mr. Fred James the opportunity to give us.
Before we move on, would you like to set up the committee at this particular time for selection of the HR director? Would you prefer to wait till next time?
You mean the executive director?
For the executive director.
Let's have, well, one of the things, there's two ways to do it, and I guess we have an agenda item on that already. Do we want to wait and have a discussion until then?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Jerry, question for you. Would we be out of order to discuss it now or wait till that agenda item? For the.
Probably best to today.
Okay, wait till the agenda item. Thank you very much for reminding me. For the selection of the HR director. Thank you very much.
Executive director, right.
I'm sorry, executive director. I didn't demote him intentionally. Please accept my apologies to the future director. Thank you, Mr. Fred James. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. We continue to see a good uptick in our business. As you can see from our library operations report, we have the first full month of statistics comparing our circulation with gate count to last July. I am proud of our staff who are learning to navigate all the complex new situations. We are all learning a lot. As you can see, I'm sure you've seen in our last 80 memo this week, we've had 40 library district employees who have signed their vet severance agreements, and 14 have retired from the district as of today. And that means between now and September the 4th, we'll probably have at least 26 more employees that will be leaving by September the 4th. We're now working with the branch staff to fill in critical positions while using the acting positions to keep organizations flexible for the next executive director. At this moment, I would like to introduce Jeff Seprico, if he would just stand up. For all of you who didn't realize, he was at our last meeting. He is our new HR Human Resource Director, and some of you met him during the research and interview process. I know there was a strong consensus that he was the right candidate. and over the past month, we have really seen him step right in and help us get all the procedures in place for the pandemic management. His breadth of experience in all areas is apparent, and we feel very fortunate to have him on our executive team. Jeff, I didn't mean to do this to you, but do you have a few words you'd like to say to us? Push the button on the mic. There's a... It's not working.
Those years are spent in not-for-profit and public healthcare institutions. I also served as adjunct faculty at the University of South Florida School of Public Affairs, and very excited to be out here in Las Vegas. I come to Las Vegas from Tampa via Montana, so very excited to be with the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Finally, I want to thank the board for spending the extra time this week to meet with me and Danielle. We enjoyed learning more about you. One surprise we uncovered is that tomorrow is Trustees Marilyn Frances Drake's birthday. Let's all wish her happy birthday.
Wait, one other thing.
Hold on.
It's Elizabeth Foyt's birthday was yesterday, right?
All right, 2 birthdays.
Oh, Elizabeth is this day too?
So.
Okay, well, let's wish them both happy birthday.
Woo!
And I think Robin's is close by. Am I right, Robin? Your birthday? No. Well, so much for that. Thank you.
So, happy birthday to you both. On behalf of the Library District staff, we wish you all the best tomorrow and in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Fred James. We really appreciate and value your attention to detail, your commitment to serve, and taking on the task as acting director during these times that can be described in a lot of ways. So, moving on our agenda, at this time there are library reports in front of you, and so is Jennifer Schember available? Please step forward. Thank you, Jennifer. These are not gotcha questions, so please. So please take a look at your library reports. Ms. Schember, thank you very much for your service. I had a question. What happened to the employees at the Meadows Library that is closed?
So the Meadows Library is currently offering curbside service. So when they are not working there for curbside service, we have 2 employees. One is working at the East Las Vegas Library, and the other one is working at the West Las Vegas Library. They're filling in for staff shortages.
Very good. And then the second question that I have for you is that are all the libraries, I know I read it here, but all for the record, is every library now open with some kind of service?
Yes. All of the branches are currently open with service. And Meadows Library is the only one that is completely closed because of the city facility is closed. Correct, but we are allowed to offer curbside service, which we are currently doing.
And, okay, so then the next is a technology question, but I'll ask the technology.
Yeah, if I-
Library Operations Director at this time. Let me go down the list. Janet Bilbrey Axelrod.
Thank you. I was recently in the Windmill Library, which it was the first time I had to go and pick something up. And I did not realize that we were allowing browsing again, which in one way makes me happy and another way makes me worried. So I just was wondering if you could really go over the safety protocols that go into that.
So the browsing currently opened on June 24th, when the district fully opened to the public. So we have been open for browsing for several weeks. Patrons are allowed to come into the buildings, browse materials. There's signage up on all of the, in a lot of the areas there's signage. So as they're removing items from the shelves, we have carts that are designated They're kind of on the sides of the shelves, so patrons, as they pull items off the shelf, they're supposed to be placed on designated carts, and then those items are disinfected, and then put back onto the shelves, later. So we do have a process in place for that. Now, there are materials that are left on the tables. Those items are collected throughout the day as well, and those actually go into quarantine for 4 days. Because at that point, we don't know how long the patrons are, using the materials. It's a longer contact with the materials, so those go into a 4-day quarantine.
Any more questions, Trustee Shannon?
And that 4-day quarantine is the same. I noticed that also returning books, we're no longer using the conveyor belt. It's so every book that comes in is going through that 4-day quarantine. Is that correct?
Correct. Anything that comes in through the book drops, so it could be library materials, donations, all of those items go into a 4-day quarantine automatically.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Jose Luis Melendez, is he on the line, Ms. Ellison?
We've sent him the telephone link now,
Okay.
and it's open, so whenever he can call in.
Okay. Trustee Kelly Benavides, did you have any questions for Jennifer Schember, Library Operations Director?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Wadley Munier, did you have any questions for? None at this time. Dr. Rogers, did you have any questions for our Operations Director?
No questions at this time.
Elizabeth Foyt, did you have any?
I didn't have a question. I had a compliment for you. I was at the Mount Charleston Library last week. What a jewel. Beautiful. Immaculate. The parking lot had been swept. The grounds look wonderful. The library was active. They have a very nice little bookstore area that people were looking at. And I went out. They have a rear patio and then a grassy area. Very nice. And I could see during a non-pandemic period of time that it might be a community gathering point for a group. And they also, thanks to Mr. Rice and one of his staffers, I don't recall the name, who helped them fence an area that's being used as a community garden and is very well supported by the Mount Charleston community. But it was a real nice visit. I'm glad I went.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, any questions or comments for our Library Operations Director?
Just a follow-up on the browsing. What has been the patron feedback more specifically? Have we had any complaints regarding that? People feeling that they're not safe or it's a dangerous environment to them?
So we actually, the complaints we received were early on when we did not allow browsing. So we actually got a lot of feedback from the public saying that that's what they wanted. They wanted the stacks open. They wanted to be able to come in on their own, get their own materials. So that kind of pushed us into the direction of opening the browsing. And so currently we haven't experienced complaints.
Okay, so everybody's been, I mean, to your perception, what you've been heard feedback you've got, they've been happy with the precautions
Yes.
we're taking? They feel like they're being looked out for?
Yes. We don't have any issues with, the staff are very adamant about, requiring the mask and all the PPE that we have for staff and the requirements for patrons coming in. In general, yes, I believe patrons feel safe when they're in the libraries.
And I guess we started giving out face shields now as well for those that can't wear a mask.
Yes.
And nice step to whoever thought of that. And just thank you. That's all I had.
And,
Chair Ortiz, I believe Trustee Melendez is on the phone.
Thank you.
If I'd like to add something, one of the biggest problems that we have in the branches is we have a few people that refuse to wear a mask or the face shield. And so we have a policy in place that they cannot come to the library and they cannot come into the library if they refuse the face mask or the shield. What we have is we have offered them the option of the pickup, Jen.
Right.
They can do curbside pickup or whatever else that we have the offer, but we are really enforcing that you wear the mask or you wear a face shield.
Thank you very much. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, did you have any questions or comments for our Operations Director?
No, just a comment. I know things are running very well at Mesquite, and we haven't had any real complaints, and they're working very hard and keeping things going smoothly. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, any questions or comments for our Operations Director?
I have no questions, but also on that 4-day quarantine, I know that in the donation center at the Sahara Library warehouse, all donations, which are just streaming in lately, they are also kept in quarantine for at least 4 days.
Yes, we have noticed a ton of donations coming in through our book drops. A lot of the book drops are just full of donations. People are cleaning out their homes, dropping the items in, and so as we are bringing the donations in, those are being quarantined.
Thank you very much. Jose Luis Melendres, at the podium we have Director Jennifer Schember from Operations and Maintenance. Did you have any questions? I'm sorry, from Library Operations. Do you have any questions for her?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jennifer, Ms. Jennifer, I did have one question for you. I'm looking at your stats. Everybody had a drop from anywhere from 60 to 70% in gate count. And it shows here Windmill only had a 29% drop in gate count.
That was due to I think we had, Theron is here, our branch manager is here, and I believe it was voting or something.
Oh, okay.
Theron, do you recall what that event was? There was an
All right, we'll take the credit. Make sure we get more voters in here so we can count them in as our gate count. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. At this time, Mr. Matt McAnally, will you please step forward? He is our Community Engagement Director. Good afternoon.
evening.
Welcome. Trustee Vice Chair Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod, did you have any questions or comments for Mr. McAnally on his report?
I do not. Thank you.
Jose Luis, we have Matt McAnally with Community Engagement. Do you have any questions or comments for him?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Trustee Kelly Benavides, do you have any questions or comments?
I do. A question is, and a comment. So I saw our commercial yesterday, which is beautiful. I can't remember if it was Channel 8 or 13, but it was a beautiful commercial. My question is, Matt, was that you speaking on the commercial? Because I think I recognized your voice.
I'll take the credit for it if it was good, but if it was bad, it was not me. I don't believe I was part of that segment. I'm sorry.
Really, I just want to thank, especially, I know this is part of our media department, but it was a great commercial. I had to tell my husband I was very proud to see a great commercial from our library district.
Thank you very much, Trustee Benavides. Robin Wadley Munier, did you have any questions or comments for? Thank you very much. Dr.
Robin,
Rogers.
could I ask you to turn on your mic when you do speak? I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Dr. Rogers, did you have any questions or comments for our Community Engagement Director?
No, I do not at this time.
Thank you. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, did you have any questions or comments?
I'm just so pleased to see the number of people that have become employed. That's significant, and I know it'll continue on from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, did you have any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, did you have any questions or comments?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, did you have any questions or comments?
Again, at the, just a comment, the clay and pottery group that has the show now at the Sahara Library, beautiful job of displaying, and the ceramics and are just gorgeous. If anybody happens to get down there to look, it's very, very nice and very nicely done. It's nice to see that we're still continuing to put those things forward in our facilities, even though we may not have as many people looking. And I know that it was a lot of work and so on. So thank you very much. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I'll be sure to pass those comments along to the staff.
Thank you. And Director Matt McAnally, 2 items. One, I don't need an answer now, but I would encourage you or invite you to model, create what it's going to look like when we get a vaccine so we can get people back in with their programs. In other words, how fast can we get them back in? Do you have the policies, procedures, the agreements with library and operations with general services and with your director to get people back in to do their theater, their plays, instead of waiting to talk about it and then several months. So that's the first thing. Please model that, practice, so that if we get that opportunity to have a vaccine, whenever that is, we can bring people back in quickly. Secondly, I was looking at your literacy services. It's on page 2 of your report.
Yep.
I would invite you and ask that you work on doubling that for next year, because that is the population that most needs to really get their high school diplomas and their education so that they can take on better jobs in this horrible economy. So see what we can do. I know there's a cost factor and it's partnered with another group, but I would encourage you and challenge you to see if we can double that for next year.
We can certainly do that. I can tell you right now, Matt McNally, Community Engagement Director for the record. Right now, we are offering the full capacity for these services that we have always offered in the past. We will look at doing what we can to try and expand that through our grant funding that we receive through Ms. Danielle Milam. And then we'll also look to see what we can contribute from a library district perspective. From a staffing perspective and a customer service perspective, I can tell you the amount of services that were available before in the last year are available to the same degree that they are this year. Right now, we're operating at about 50% capacity, and that is just due to the interest that we're seeing coming in from the library. So staff have the capability of handling the amount of services that were provided in the past. We're just trying to get those customers back in. So just to give you a frame of reference, in June, we typically do pre-assessments for about 400 to 450 students. These are for our English as a second language classes, and this year we were able to get about 225 to 250 students. In our ESL classes, they're also operating, had about 35 programs running a year, serving about 400 students. For the current quarter, we have 17 classes serving around 200 students. So we're working to get that message out, and I think as people understand that as we get into our Cycle 2 classes and they start to realize the amount of services that are actually here with the library district, we anticipate those numbers picking up as well.
You're doing a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Acting Deputy Director Danielle Milam, if you'll please step forward. Milam, excuse me. I'm going to go slap my optometrist.
Danielle Milam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
She's the acting Deputy Director. She had a presentation that she gave us. Let's go down the list. Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod, did you have any questions on this particular presentation?
I do not, but I do want to just compliment Janelle for stepping up as into the deputy position. I know it's been tough for everyone, but I'm very happy that you're there, and thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jose Luis Melendres, did you have any questions for Danielle?
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Kelly Benavides, did you have any questions or comments?
None at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Robin Wally Munier, did you have any questions or comments?
None at this time.
Thank you so much. Dr. Rogers, any questions or comments?
Only just, again, thank you for stepping up to serve in this role, and I enjoyed talking with you and Fred on the phone this week, and looking forward to our future conversations.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers.
Thank you very much. Elizabeth Foyt, did you have any questions or comments?
Compliments on the rise in revenue, even under the pandemic conditions at the bookstore and the online sales. I guess you had a book that sold for $600, I think?
We did.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
that's a dazzler. And I know that you have a cooperative agreement for books. When they leave here, they go to Arizona?
Correct. That's our third-party vendor, and our checks have been up probably 50, 60% over last year.
Wonderful.
So that's great.
And that's without having a campaign to say, bring us your donations. They're just
Yeah,
coming.
we've never had to do that, and in this pandemic, we're just seeing them flood in, as Jennifer said earlier.
Will this be will this be equal to, under, or above what you would have garnered from some of the big book sale you normally have in the summer at Sahara West?
I believe that we ended up, we're ending up making about the same amount of money in the revenues of the book sales and the online sales. What we're missing is those bookstores in our branches. The sales are down a little bit there.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, any questions or comments for Danielle in this particular report?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Sandra Raymaker.
I just want to say thank you, and thank you to Fred for the phone call. I really appreciated it and getting to have that feedback ahead of time.
Thank you, Trustee.
Thank you. Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, any questions or comments?
No, and if the volunteers could get back to the library to work, then we would have even better revenue, I guarantee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danielle. At this time, if Mr. Albert, I always get his name wrong, Prendergast?
You nailed it, sir.
All righty, welcome. Thank you very much. He is our Information and Technology Director and CIO. Shannon Bilbrey-Axelrod, did you have any questions or comments for him?
I do, thank you. Thank you, Al. First, I want to compliment you, the staff member who came up with the new past due email. I know for me personally, it was one of those things I went, oh, I remember seeing that book, especially for us parents who, don't necessarily know what a book looks like when you're trying to find a overdue book within a million other books. So I appreciate that. My other question was, are you seeing any issues with connectivity with the increased use of internet access, whether it's out in the parking lot or whatever? I feel like between all of the things we have going, ebooks, everything, are you seeing any issues that we may need to address anytime soon?
No, we're not having any capacity issues. We have a 1 gig internet connection. We probably run around 60% when the branches are open. And with where we're running right now, we're running about 40%.
Okay.
We're in good shape.
Great. Thank you.
And I'm sorry. And Sue Anderson is the one who spearheaded the notices, and she's done a great job with those. Thank you.
Please pass along my kudos.
Thank you very much. Jose Luis Melendez, did you have any questions or comments for our IT Director? Okay, we'll come back to him. Jose Luis, did you have any questions or comments for our IT Director? Okay, moving on. Kelly Benavides, Trustee, did you have any questions or comments?
Trustee Bilbrey actually asked my question, so thank you for that question.
All right, thank you very much. Trustee Robin Wadley Munier, did you have any questions or comments?
None.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rogers, did you have any questions or comments?
Just congratulations on that $25,000 grant for your network equipment.
Oh, thank you. Thank Danielle.
Thank you very much. Trustee Elizabeth Foy, did you have any questions or comments?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, did you have any questions or comments on this report?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, did you have any questions or comments?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, questions or comments?
Just a comment. Thank you to you and your staff. I know everybody is taking up extra baggage and extra jobs and extra responsibilities during this time, and please pass that along from the board to thank them. And thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to Jose Luis Melendez. Did you have any questions or comments? Okay, might have lost them. I did have one question for you. On our hotspots?
Yes, sir.
What is our rate of return or rate of loss of hotspots that are lent out or taken out?
The last time I looked at that, we were at about 20% loss rate. But they're fairly inexpensive. We just replace it with another one and activate the other one, because the service is what's really the most expensive part of that. So we're losing about maybe 20%.
Okay, so I don't want to put words in your mouth, so it would be the cost as opposed to the service is negligible?
The device is about $40.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Floresto Caballos, Acting Chief Financial Officer, please step forward. This is a practice run, guys. Everybody's gonna get a new director, so we gotta make sure we practice everybody. Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, did you have any questions or comments for our Acting Chief Financial Officer?
Do not at this time. Just again, a compliment. I know this has been a bit of a crazy time just coming in, but the numbers look good, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Jose Luis Melendez, did you have any questions or comments for our Acting Chief Financial Officer? Trustee Kelly Benavides, did you have any questions or comments?
Just a comment, you know, you have some real big shoes to fill there, but I know you're doing a great job and you took off running, and we appreciate you stepping up to the plate. And I know you've been with us for a while, and we appreciate you moving up in the world. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Robin Wadley Munier, did you have any questions or comments?
None at this time, except thank you.
Trustee Dr. Rogers, did you have any questions or comments?
No, I just echo the other compliments that have been shared.
Thank you very much. Trustee Elizabeth Foy, did you have any questions or comments?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Trustee Brian Wilson, did you have any questions or comments?
Yes, actually. So we're up to 43 that have accepted on the vest.
Mm-hmm.
I know who one of those is because we're shopping for a replacement. Do we have a list of the positions and who the rest of these are that have accepted?
Yes, we do have a list of positions. I can provide that to the trustees.
I would like that. I'd like to know specifically, you know, who it is and what positions they're leaving empty.
Mm-hmm.
If those positions are being filled by another temporary staff at the time being, or if it's just being a held open position, if you could provide that to us as well. So basically a list of who's accepted, what position, and what is the status of that position now that they're, or what the plans for the status will be once they do finish their separation.
We'll provide that information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Floresto. Just as a reminder, send it to your director so you can send it, you can approve it so you can send it out.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Chair Ortiz, I think Trustee Melendez may be back on the line.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Trustee Wilson. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, did you have any questions or comments?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, did you have any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, Trustee Jose Luis Melendez, we're talking to the Acting Chief Financial Officer, Floresto Caballos. Did you have any questions or comments?
No, I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The only comment I have, Floresto, is that take a couple of days off because the next couple of months between now and the end of the year is going to be fast and furious. And if you have not taken time off, it's better now because later I think it's going to get worse with the inability to take the time off.
Understood. Thank you, Chair Ortiz. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, don't leave. He also had a report on his budget status.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, did you have any questions on this budget report that we get every month?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Hudson Melendez, he gives us a report every month on expenditures and income. Did you have any questions or comments?
No, sir.
Thank you so much. Trustee Kelly Benavides, did you have any questions or comments?
No, Chair.
Robin Wadley Munier, did you have any questions or comments?
None at this time, thank you.
Dr. Rogers, did you have any questions or comments?
Not at the time.
Thank you so much. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, did you have any questions or comments?
None at this time, thank you.
Trustee Brian Wilson, question or comments?
No, but I did forget one follow-up to that previous thing I requested. Add in there what the separation cost is to the district.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you want that by employee or did you want that by total?
By position, ideally.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trustee Sandra Raymaker, did you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm good at this time, thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. First, I really like the way these reports have always come out. I'm sure there's probably a better way. There's always a better way. But I do like them because I get to see detail and every so often something stands out, but doing a good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
At this time, Mr. Stephen Rice, General Services Director, if you please step forward. Thank you very much. Welcome. Good to see you.
Oh, thank you. Good to see you.
Trustee Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, Vice Chair, do you have any questions or comments?
I do, and I'm not able to split my screen yet. I need to figure that out, but so I'm hoping you can still hear me when I go back to my board. But on the continued procurement and distribute the PPE, we're at 177,107 thus far. We were closed for a few months. So could you break down what that's looking like monthly? Because this is obviously something that we're going to have to continue, and I just don't want to have us blindsided at the end of like next fiscal year where this number is just astronomical. So if you could break that down, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. I can't do that right now, but I can put it in my report next month, if that's okay.
That will work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lees Melendez, did you have any questions or comments? Mr. Lees, can we?
No.
Mr. Lees, you did have a question about the handicap seating here. Can you call that?
Well, I know, regarding the handicap seating, I know there was a situation over at the Summerlin Library where it's been brought up, and just a while back with our previous executive director.
So let me help out here. Director Rice, there was a question and a concern about handicap placement for handicap chairs. You can reach back to Mr. Lees after the meeting sometime and try to figure out what that is. And
Well,
try to
we know what that is.
Okay.
I can ask John Vino, my assistant director, to speak to that.
Okay, please, just a couple minutes.
With resolving that issue here, and I believe we added some seating up in the back. We're in the process, or we'll be adding it.
Okay, very good.
Actually, here comes out, if we know in advance, and then we have the seating in the back for handicap as well. We currently meet code as part of the facilities master plan. We're going to look into actually taking out the back rows and increasing, and it's kind of on hold while the theaters are closed right now. We'll relook at it and expanding the handicap.
So not to put words in your mouth, so if somebody tells you ahead of time they're in a wheelchair, you can remove the chair so they can
We
sit.
have the ability to add 4 more handicap spots.
Okay. And so, do the customers know that?
It depends, yeah.
Okay. That's probably,
Signature knows it, as we go forward. We don't do a lot of reserved seating for the handicap.
okay. So that's
At this point.
that's more of a question for the director to talk to the manager. Okay, thank you so much. Kelly Benavides, did you have any questions or comments?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Robin Wadley Munier, did you have any questions or comments?
None, thank you.
Dr. Rogers, did you have any questions or comments?
No questions.
Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, did you have any questions or comments?
Concerning the seating for the handicap or the availability of it, are we talking specifically for this theater or for all of our theaters?
Well, the question came up about this theater because there are apparently a greater percentage of seniors or people that are in wheelchairs in this community.
In this area.
So what we're looking at doing here is making more seating available than is required by code
Okay,
to help accommodate that need.
sure.
We haven't heard that, at least I'm not aware of an issue at any of the other facilities.
Is it possible that something like that could be added to our rental information?
Well,
For the-
I'm sure it can. I would
Yeah.
hope that the
With
theater
the links
manager
that-
here, would coordinate with the groups that use the space and make it known we can make that available to
As
them.
an option.
Yeah, or we just do it. I mean, if if we have a significant number of wheelchairs at most of the events, then maybe we should just do it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, did you have any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Trustee Sandra Raymaker, did you have any questions or comments?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, did you have any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I just, I do
yes.
want to just follow up on the compliment that Trustee Foyt made about Mount Charleston. I give credit where credit is due, and that project was spearheaded by John Bino, my assistant director, and he worked with Lauren Olson and her staff to design that space up there, and we redid the landscape and the community garden. It's a community effort, and actually I was up there this past weekend myself, and it turned out great, and there's actually plants growing in the garden, which was nice to see as well. So,
well, forgive me, Mr. Bano, with not making note of your name at the time, because there was lavish praise that came down. They're very pleased.
It turned out
and
great.
One of the things that they did with the community garden area is protected from the deer, who would love to nibble on those beautiful plants, but it is a protected area, as are the nice trees that were planted in that back area. They're protected from the deer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Human Resource Director Jeff Serpico, please come forward.
Good evening.
Amy, thank you and welcome. Shannon Bilbrey-Axelrod, did you have any questions or comments?
Yes, I do. Thank you. First of all, welcome, Mr. Serpico. I had the pleasure of being on the search committee and interviewing you personally, and I couldn't be happier that you are where you are at this time. My question is about issues that have come up with staff over the COVID issue, if there's accommodations that need to be made or things like that. Have you heard any concerns or safety issues? And I know, based on what I know of you, you have a very open door, but have you been hearing issues or concerns or necessary accommodations or anything in that sort of wheelhouse?
I think in the initial 6 weeks, I did hear quite a few concerns, which resulted in us articulating a protocol for how we respond to these incidents of somebody being symptomatic or somebody testing positive for COVID. We did do quite a bit of training on that in the last 7 weeks, 7 educational sessions, training 166 persons in charge and supervisors. Posted all of that information on Voyager, which is our intranet for staff to see. And that does seem to have alleviated quite a bit of the questions and concerns. I think with what's going on externally, we will continue to see concerns, but we address them as they come up. I think that initially that did clear up quite a few of the concerns with what was the district doing, what's our process, to make it fairly simple for everybody to see, and then educate the leaders on that process. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I for the most part. Okay. I guess I want to make sure, obviously, our workers are safe.
Absolutely.
And
priority.
that, absolutely, as well as our patrons. But really, I was just up to the legislature and we dealt with liability issues, and workers would have to go through workman's comp. So I just want to make sure that we are very, we let our workers know that they are the most, so important, and any concerns, no matter how small, because let's be honest, people are taking these risks very differently. Some people think it's okay to be inside. Some people with groups, I don't need it inside ever. So, I don't know if I'm making sense, but I just want to make sure that the folks who work for us know how valuable they are and I know you, like I said, I've had the pleasure that is really being, that they're most important, and you have an open door policy, which I know you do.
We do, and also in addition, in the AD memo that went out yesterday, we had identified some additional resources for staff to watch, learning classes, online classes about dealing with COVID and dealing with the stress. But again, we continue to readjust our response and our communication because it is somewhat of a fluid situation. But we definitely are trying to enhance communication.
Thank you very much. Jose Luis Melendez, did you have any questions or comments for our HR director?
No question, but I was also part of the interview committee and just wanted to say it here via virtual welcome and look forward to your service at the library and leadership.
Thank you.
Trustee Kelly Benavides, did you have any questions or comments?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Robin Wadley Munier, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions, but this is my first opportunity to meet you, and welcome to Las Vegas. And I hope that you enjoy it. It's as hot as Tampa, but not as hot.
Thank you, Trustee Wadley.
Thank you very
You
much.
can call me Robin.
Thank you very much. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, any questions or comments?
I'm the final of the three musketeers that was part of your interview committee, and that was a delightful process all the way through, yourself as well as the other individuals. So again, welcome to Las Vegas.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, any questions or comments?
Just a staffing readiness question, really. Obviously, right now, we're running well below capacity. But when I'm looking around, we just, looks like we hit our peak around July, so we're about 3 months behind New York. Assuming that holds, we don't know. How are we staff-wise with people that have separated, left the district? If our usage level, we get 3 months down the road and we're down to a 1% positivity or whatever, and we end up reopening everything, like New York just reopened their schools or announced that last week. Are we going to be okay staff-wise to be back to a much busier place? Or are we going to be running into troubles with that, with the budget cuts and the restrictions and the money shortages and what we've lost? How are we going to be able to handle that?
We are currently meeting with operations regarding staffing and any plans to staff up based on the volumes, and also filling positions that have been vacated. I have every confidence that the district will meet whatever volume requirements present themselves going forward. Our turnover due to the VESP has not been so high that it would be disruptive at this point. There are some key positions that we're working on filling and identifying those positions. But in terms of staff and staffing to meet the needs of the public, I don't think that's in jeopardy.
Yeah, I mean, with the staff that we have available, either currently working or available to come back in as needed, what percentage do you think we could operate at compared to previously?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
I think that's pretty much a question that he's not ready for. But right now, at this particular time, the district is probably right around 50% gate count. So we are way below where we are. Our staff level is way up there.
So we have no problem holding like 75 or 80% gate count. We get 3 months down the road. We're not like in a panic of, we got to go recruiting crazy now or something.
No,
we're fine.
We're fine.
Okay.
We're exactly.
That was basically the question.
Yeah, we just don't want to staff at that level because the volumes don't warrant it.
No, I
Okay,
just, it's just as the volumes come up, are we going to have to be going nuts to try and recruit people, or are we okay to handle, another 25, 30%?
No, I don't see that happen.
Okay, cool.
Thank you very much. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, did you have any questions or comments?
Nothing, just welcome.
Thank you.
No questions at this
Thank you.
time.
Thank you very much. Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, do you have any questions or comments?
Just like everybody else, welcome to Las Vegas, and welcome to the library district.
Thank you, Trustee.
Thank you. Mr. Serpico, just real quickly, I have through your director, your acting director, Fred, here. I'm glad to see the employees have taken advantage of training while there's some downtime. Please send the message out to them as much as our capacity, financial capacity. Downtime is a good time to take training that they ordinarily would not have time for while on duty. Secondly, going back to Vice Chair Bilberry Axelrod, maybe a report, send it to the acting director, giving us a list of anybody not names, but a list of the list of accommodations for COVID-19. And we don't need the names, we just need the job and maybe how many hours or how many weeks they were off. And the reason we're looking at that is, are we making a mistake as a trustee to, at least, I don't want to speak for everybody, but for myself, are we making a mistake by opening too soon? If this happens again, do we need to take a better, tighter look at that? That's the only reason for looking at it. So send the report to your acting director, and then, so again, just the position, not names, the position, and then how much time was taken off based on a request for an accommodation. Okay? And it,
Chair, could you run that by me before we release it?
Yes.
Even by position, we may have difficulty.
So send it to your acting director, and he'll send it to the attorney, or attorney to look at. Thank you very much. Does that help, Shannon?
I appreciate that, and I harbor back to, thank you, Jerry, for that. If it's obviously too specific, we can't have that information, but maybe we could even do something more generally if it was like an administrative position or so we're not able to drill down and find out that information. Correct?
Correct, we can do that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Serpico, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Director Betsy Ward, please come forward. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. I just think it's important to get a good feel of what our directors are doing now after all this stressful time. Thank you, welcome. Trustee Shannon Bilber Axelrod, did you have any questions for Trustee?
Not a major question, just out of curiosity. You are very good about writing our earned media. I was curious if when you did your numbers at the airport, if that was based on actual gate count at the airport. I saw you put it at 1.8 million in June, and I haven't been to the airport, but my colleagues have, and they said it's like, you could throw a missile down the middle and you wouldn't hit anybody. So I was just curious if that's been adjusted or if that's just based on an average.
Thank you for that question. I would have to go back and see how we calculated that, but I can absolutely get back to you on that, because you're correct. It should be lower than it had been in the past. So we will get back to you about that. Thank you.
Just curious.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Osalise Melendez, did you have any questions for Betsy Ward?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Trustee Kelly Benavides, did you have any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Robin Wadley Munier, do you have any questions or comments?
Just a comment, keep up the good work. The commercials and everything else, the signage, great.
Thank you.
Trustee Rogers, did you have any questions or comments on our marketing and branding?
No, just love the digital media.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, did you have any questions or comments?
I think the graphics and the signage and the not just online, but around the community as well as around the library itself are just wonderful. They're very appealing. Very appealing.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, did you have any questions or comments?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, did you have any questions or comments?
Just thank you for what you're doing. They're quite interesting to look at and appealing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, did you have any questions or comments?
Just that puppy dog with the mask is really cute. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ward. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our agenda. If there are no other questions on the library reports, unfinished business, item number 7. There is no unfinished business, so we move on to item number 8, new business. We have discussion for possible board action regarding the search for the next executive director of the Library of the Las Vegas Clark County Library District.
Jeff?
And yes, Jeff, please come forward. In this discussion, I asked for this discussion in order to look at the parameters, expectation, and requirements, salaries that we might have in mind for the executive director. This will give the staff a direction. So thank you very much. So let's start off here. You have a packet. First of all, question, is there anybody that did not get the packet or do not have a packet in front of them of the requirements for library director, performance evaluation, and then executive director range? Did anybody not get that or does not have it? It was either, it's online? Yes. Yeah, okay, so everybody has it. So at our last meeting, we had a few requests, so let's start off with the first request. The first thing is that we need to find a search group, is that correct? Director, please, this is yours.
Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
We did have scheduled this evening a firm, Reaction Search International, who had indicated they specialize in executive searches for government agencies, scheduled to present tonight. At the 7:23 board meeting, there was a request to present a second recruiting firm. On 7:27, HR had the initial conversation with this recruiting group to go over what the requirements would be, what their fees are, and setting up a presentation to this board. They did indicate that their fees were 30% of first year's base salary. They had indicated they would be putting together a presentation that would be forwarded next week. That did not come, and the firm is a no-show. I reached out to Mercer earlier in the month, William Mercer Company, which is a national consulting firm, has a presence in Las Vegas on some other business. We could offer them as an option to come in and present at the next meeting regarding executive recruiting. And also I have past experience with a firm called the Hartz Group out of Charlotte, although we are trying to keep this as a local agency, local search. We can set up a presentation for the next board meeting of one of these vendors, or we could talk about the presentation of Jane Weisner, which was presented at the last meeting, and pursuing that.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Question?
Hang on 1 second. Director, do you have one more comment to follow up?
Basically, what we're saying is you have the option. We're giving you the option whether you want to go or if you want to continue, but this adds some more time to the selection process, and it pushes us right into the middle of the holiday season, which makes it really difficult for people to interview. And that's why we try to do it as fast and early as we can. When we were doing it for the HR director, we had the same similar problem, and we went into January before we start actually interviewing. Usually what you'll find is people are doing holiday travel, or they're going out with their families, whatever the case be. So what we're trying to do is get into a situation where we want to get the best and the most candidates that possible for this position. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about extending out. And I may joke about it, but I realized that I wanted to leave in February, but if we move it, it means I'm March.
Thank you very much. A couple last thoughts before we move on to everybody. One of the questions that was asked by, I think, Trustee Benavides was an exit interview and a comment from the previous director. Did you arrange for an exit interview and a comment from the previous director?
The intent was to do the exit interview and comments with whoever we choose as the executive recruiter, so that they could also be firsthand get that input from Mr. Heesen.
Okay, thank you very much. Kelly Benavides, does that satisfy your request?
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted. I want to make sure that the firm that we do end up going with has that understanding of, you know, what they need to look for. So they would need that information.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we basically, well, let's go to comments before I make my comment. At this time, Trustee Vice Chair Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod, any questions or comments on the search for our executive director?
Thank you, Mr. Serpico, for reaching out to the other company. And I know just based on my call with the acting director that you went out of your way to give them every opportunity to be presenting today. As someone who was involved in the search for your position, I was extremely pleased with Jane and her work, and so my vote would be to, if we had a vote, to move forward with her services and get this thing going. I don't want to burn Fred out. I thank him so much for stepping up to this, but I do think we need to get this ball rolling.
Thank you very much. Jose Luis Melendez, any questions or comments on this item?
I would agree with Shannon. We need to move this forward and get the process started so that we can do our due diligence and find the next executive director.
Thank you very much. Trustee Kelly Benavides, any more questions or comments on this item?
So exactly what Trustee Melendez said, we need to do our due diligence. So that's why I was pro trying to find another company just so that we can compare and do our due diligence of making sure that we were picking the right person. Obviously, that didn't work out in our favor. So I would feel comfortable with moving forward with the company that we have in front of us that presented. So I do agree with the rest of my trustees. We kind of need to get this ball rolling. I would feel comfortable in moving forward.
Thank you very much. Trustee Robin Wally Munier, I cut you off. Please go ahead.
Okay, well, I have one question that's a concern. The statement was made that we are looking locally, so we are not looking for someone that's out of state or from someplace else?
May I?
Go ahead.
Trustee
Just say Robin.
Wadley.
Let's make it simple.
The locally meant in terms of a recruiting firm, that we would
Oh.
use a local recruiting firm that was familiar with the area,
Hey, my heart stopped
familiar
there
with
for
the
a moment.
district. You'll see many headhunters and executive recruiting firms. They're out of DC, the East Coast,
Okay.
and coming over from Florida. That's where I'm most used to doing business, but I'm learning it over here.
Yeah, no, okay, that answers that. That makes me feel much better. I did not meet the other firm or person or whatever, so I have nothing to gauge anything by. So I don't know how to make a decision on that. It would be nice to have at least someone else to choose from.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rogers, any questions or comments on this agenda item?
I concur regarding if we think the current firm that was recommended is qualified to move this process forward. I concur with moving forward with that firm.
Thank you very much. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, do you have any questions or comments?
Maybe I've lost track of this, but how long a window are we giving our headhunter to seek applicants before we then winnow it down and start some level of interviews?
We were targeting a start date, which is very aggressive for the executive of 2/1. I believe our intent was to try to get the interviewing done just prior to the holidays, with the
No, I don't think you understand what I'm asking.
Okay.
Okay, let's say we hire the firm that gave the presentation, Jane and her company.
Okay.
Okay. Will she start immediately, and how long will the time period be where people can apply?
She'll start immediately, yes. We'll identify sources to post that job and different media sources. Probably leave it open for about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and reach out directly to certain candidates that we may wish to recruit. Those are all conversations that would occur with the board members. When she presented the other week, she had indicated she would sit down with each board member and get their impression individually of what we needed to do for the search, and then also do a group meeting with the executive committee to get their impression of the needs. The whole timeline had backed into a February 1st date, and I'm trying off the top of my head to remember what she presented, but I think it was about 3 weeks of actually keeping the process open to accept applications. But again, a search like this involves a lot of reaching out to identified individuals to try and coax them into interviewing for the role.
And if I may add, Jane, what she would actually do, it would take a lot of time for her to meet with you, you figure about 1 or 2 hours if she's going to meet individual with each board member and get your impression of what you think of the new executive director needs to bring to this position. So that means she would have to schedule a meeting with each one of you, and that probably, I'm guessing that would probably take 1 to 1.5 weeks to do, and then she would go out and post this. And I think what we did with position of the HR director position, it took us, we actually kept it open for a month, and so that she can go out and recruit. Now, a lot of the people that she are probably most likely are recruiting from, and Jeff will tell you this, that they may not be looking at that particular moment. And a lot of the people that we got, some of these outstanding candidates that you saw, weren't really looking until she reached out and told them about the opening here. And once they read about the library district, once they got a feel for what we were doing, she did a very good job selling the library, and they became very excited. And when they interviewed for the job, we would always ask the question, now that you have interviewed for this job, are you still interested in the job? And everyone would say, I'm extremely excited, and even more so. So Jeff would tell you that it takes a long time, and even the interview process, that she has to interview with each and every candidate before those candidate would be submitted to the committee of the board. So that's one thing. And then you're looking at she's probably going through 50, 60 candidates. You'll probably get a fifth of that, maybe 10, maybe 20, and then you select of that 10 or 20 which ones or which people that you would like to come in to interview. And then that process, and that takes time and weeks. Okay, does that answer your question?
I think pretty much for that.
Okay.
So for someone who might be applying for this job, it could be a plum, definitely something to move up to. And I do feel they will accommodate our interview requests around whatever other commitment, short of a 50th anniversary cruise with their parents or something to that effect. But I think the vast majority would be very accommodating. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, did you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, if I could, to my fellow trustees that actually worked with Destiny, was there anything that you had issues with that particular company, any of you? Was there anything you didn't like about them?
Trustee Ortiz, no issues, no comments. I thought they did a great job. Trustee Foyt?
I thought they did a good job. The only thing that struck me as odd was when we had the presentation a month ago, where you felt like it was already a done deal, and we're sitting here going, really? Really? We were quite surprised. But no, I do want someone who has an MLS degree. And anyone who is applying for a job at the level, size of the district that we have here, a very handsome district with great buildings, great people, they won't have just library experience. They won't have true executive administrative experience, or they won't be qualified enough to get the type of interview that we did with Mr. Serpico and 10 others. So.
Thank you. Trustee Kelly Benavides, the question that Brian asked, did you have any response?
Well, I was an alternate for the interview, so I just did the final question part of it. I don't think I have enough input to be able to give any feedback. Sorry.
Thank you. Trustee Jose Luis Melendez, any questions or comments?
Yeah, so to my fellow trustees' question, I thought they did a really good job of bringing strong candidates forward. And I was really impressed with the number of qualified people. And maybe, I don't know, I guess maybe they overshot that. They had so many folks that came forward, but each of them brought strengths and the finalist and those things that worked out, I think really worked out well for a really strong fit for this library. So I think they did a really good job of identifying looking for the skill sets we were looking at that time for this HR position. So I was pleased with their work and quality of the candidates that they brought forward.
Thank you very much, Trustee Shannon Bilberry-Axelrod. Were you on the interview?
I was. Thank you.
Did you want to respond to Brian Wilson?
Yes, absolutely. I was very impressed by this search group, and I was on the board during our last executive search where we went with someone who specifically worked in the library world. And if I had to do it over again, I would have asked them to go back to the drawing board. I felt like they were looking at a very small group of folks. I actually think in a library district this size, I think we're the 11th largest in the nation, that we shouldn't just be looking at MLS folks. I think we should be looking at people with doctorates who have experience building boards and in community. I think we have such an amazing executive team that this job is so much bigger than knowing, the Dewey Decimal System, and for lack of a better way to say it. But I just think that this firm and Mr. Serpico is a great example of that, really was able to find some phenomenal candidates. I was extremely impressed.
Thank you very much. Trustee Wilson, the floor is yours again.
Yeah. Trustee Bilberry-Axelrod, I wanted to make sure I was understanding you. You were the previous executive director that was done in-house. That was what you weren't happy with. This firm is what you were extremely satisfied with, right?
Yes, the last one was not done in-house. The last firm we used, I don't remember their name, but they specialized in searching for library, not just executive directors. They were headhunters specifically for libraries.
Thank you. That's extremely helpful. Just because I wasn't part of it, so hearing your feedback of people that I trust that have went through it, very helpful to me at least. Was there any bad candidates they even brought forward with this group? Just because we're making a major decision here, and I like everything you guys are all saying about the current firm. It sounds like a ringing endorsement to me.
If I may, I would say I don't think there was anyone bad. I think if I recall, were there about 15 people we interviewed? Is that right? 11. 11. Okay. There might have been one or two that seemed better on paper than the actual interview, but definitely no stinkers.
Thank you very much for that. Very appreciative.
I would add something. This is Trustee Foyt. We had people that really had spectacular resumes and had difficulty communicating in the interview process. We also had somewhat of an abundance of people who came from very small universities and colleges where they may not have interacted, in a larger sense. I'm talking maybe not quite Bible college, but small, real small, and in many cases had worked in that very small environment. And it would have been, I think, a real reality shock to have ended up here in our large working environment as well as our very large community. So that is one thing that I would bring up with any recruiter or headhunter that we happen to engage.
Not to beat a dead horse, but on that question, I know you guys all made your final 3 recommendation that went to the director, went to Ron to pick from. Out of that 3, if Jeff didn't get the job, would you have been unhappy with any of the other 2?
I would have been happy, not as happy. I mean, he was the clear, but obviously. I still would have. I was pleased with both of them. One more than the other. We had a second, but any of the 3 I thought were good.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Excellent.
Very much so.
Thank you very much. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, do you have any questions or comments?
Just, I thought Jane did a great presentation, and I think it speaks volumes for what she had to say and the fact of the search that they've already done, which brought Jeff to us. I would be very pleased with going forward with them.
Thank you very much. Having heard that, the only comments I have is a couple of comments, and so let me try to phrase them real quick, and they're comments, okay? First of all, I find it highly inappropriate for the previous director to make a recommendation on who the next director should be. That the director works for this board. Does not work for any director or the prior director or a future director, works for this board. So this board really has to feel comfortable. We set the policy, the director gets some marching orders and gets his employees to follow the policy. They bring forward ideas and policy back to us for our approval. So I do find that highly inappropriate and irregular. Like anything else, thank you very much.
Sorry, Jose, will you, I don't understand
hang on
what you
a
mean
second,
by
I have
that.
the floor.
I don't understand what you mean by that, though.
Shannon, I have the floor. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'll give you an opportunity. And so what I heard was that they're going to ask Ron in the exit interview on who he thinks should be selected. My comment, this is my comment. Everybody's had the floor. So I just want to make a record of that. I would be opposed to that, okay? Whether that happens or not, I don't know, but I'm just opposed to that. And I do have the floor. Thank you so much. I do think it's important to have an exit review and his thoughts on what kind of person we should get. That is a different comment, right? What kind of person? Because he had a very good experience of being here enough time to build 2 libraries, handle a stressful budget coming in and going out. And so it's important to get that aspect. And so whoever we choose as a headhunter, I don't think to ask that question, who do you think should be in there, that's not an appropriate question. So I hope that clears that up. Secondly, just to go back, the director works for us, and it's really important that you feel comfortable, really feel comfortable. Next, we need somebody that's going to be on top of everything, because what's going to happen, we don't know. COVID-19 is going to hit us again, and we may have to go straight to things that we don't want to do. The budget, the legislature is going to happen. We may have to deal with that. So it has to be somebody that has transparency, somebody that has the ability to communicate with us. We're not making decisions in a vacuum. We're making decisions because there's all kinds of actors, politics, constituents, end users, our employees. So this is really where the rubber meets the road. And so I'm very confident in everybody and value everybody's input. No, I don't believe anybody's going to try to override anybody. I think that everybody's input is going to be counted equally, so we get the right person that you feel comfortable with, okay? And then, having said that, so the first thing on the agenda, and thank you, I'm sorry for cutting, I think Kelly and Shannon, but I have the floor, so those are my comments. Thank you so much. Okay, having said that.
Chair, I'd like to be recognized.
Sure, go ahead, Trustee Benavides.
So I don't want my comments to be misconstrued or misunderstood, because I think you might have been the only one that misunderstood what I was trying to say. I never, ever would expect our outgoing director to choose who was coming behind him. That wasn't even something that, if you go back to the minutes, I said that there should be an exit interview, just like any other positions and around anywhere. They do exits, so that they interview and they give feedback of what should this person have, what did you learn, what did you not like, what should have been done. Those are tools that then we can use. The outgoing director would have even never met the candidates coming in. So I don't understand where this came from. I don't understand, because at this point it seems like you are the only one that misunderstood my comments or my direction to staff.
It has nothing to do with you, Ms. Benavides. Did the HR director meet your exit strategy request?
Yeah.
Interview, excuse me.
When he's going to address it when the company that we choose to go out and look for that person. I never said that the HR director needed to do the interview. It was a discussion, meaning that once this firm was chosen, that they were to talk to the exited director and get feedback from him.
Okay, so that's two separate things. One, my expectation was for our staff to do the exit interview, and then the company that's selected to do to have a conversation with them on what are the good qualities of a director. And that's not what I'm hearing here, unless I'm hearing it differently. You gave that.
But even when the company was here presenting at our last meeting, she agreed with me.
Kelly, just a minute. Is that director? How is that going to work? Who's doing the exit interview?
I'm sorry, the way I understood it was that the recruiter was supposed to go to the previous executive director and interview that director as an exit interview. That's the way I understood it myself.
Correct, to get feedback.
Yes.
Feedback on the qualities of what qualities the next director should have to make them
maybe,
successful.
So maybe that's my confusion. That's not an
Okay.
exit interview. That's a feedback on
Okay.
the next director.
Maybe we should.
But where did the head choosing the next person, where did that come from? That's what I'm not understanding.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I said my piece. I made a record. Everybody had an opportunity. Let's move on, guys. Any other comments, questions?
I just would have said maybe we can determine whether we care to continue with that concept of having the exit interview done at all.
Well, there was a request from a board member, and so that's what they're going to do.
Okay.
And it's a feedback interview more so than an exit. I thought we were doing an actual exit interview, but that's okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I like Ron. You know, you did good. Okay, thank you so much. So the next question that we have here is that what I heard was that everybody feels comfortable with Destiny Executive Search Group and Jane Wisner. And so, Director Fred, is there, do we have an amount or up to?
Yes. If you could have the motion is a contract with Destiny Executives, search firm. And the not to exceed amount would be $49,500.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Who would like to make that motion?
Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson, please make that motion.
Motion to authorize Fred James, acting director, to sign a contract with Destiny Executive Search Group in an amount not to exceed what was just specified by Fred,
$49,500.
subject to review by council.
Okay, is there a second? Who would like the second?
Second.
Sandra Raymaker.
Second by Sandra Raymaker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jose Luis, you're on mute.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody opposed? Aye. Obviously, motion carries. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, we have one abstention. Robin Wadley Munier. Anybody else abstaining? Okay, thank you. Congratulations to Jane Weisner. And so thank you. You have a big task for us, and we appreciate it. And Mr. Serpico, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For joining us. Now, along those lines, we're still on that agenda item. What I'd like to see done is I suspect they're going to, Mr. Serpico, they're probably going to interview 10 or 11 people. And so then narrow it down to 3 so the entire board sits on them. Or do you want the entire board? I mean, those are our options. So that's what we have before us. We can do a committee to interview the 11, and then everybody interview the final 3, or everybody can sit on all the interviews. So let me go down the list. I mean, I don't have a preference. So Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, would you like everybody to sit on all 10 interviews, or would you like them to sit on a little bit?
My only concern with having everyone is that just having 3 of us, and Director James, scheduling was very difficult, I'll be honest. We spent 3 basically full days of interviews. So I'm happy to do it, and we can figure it out. I think that we could open that to people, but I think then we need to figure out if 5 people can do one day and 2 people, we're just, there's going to have to be a little bit of a give.
Jose Luis, Melendres, would you feel?
Can I
Jerry Wilt, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Council. Yeah, thank you. I just want to point out to the trustees that anytime in this particular job, anytime any trustee vote will have to be posted meeting in public.
So that is one problem that we have. If everybody sits on it, then it is a public meeting for the interview. Okay, but let me still go down the.
Well, any trustee sits on.
I just have a question. Say that again. Any trustee sits. That one more time, Jerry, and hit your mute on the other microphone. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, if any trustee participates in this process, the meeting that they're at has to be a posted public meeting.
May I have a point of clarification?
Go ahead, Robin, Williams, point of clarification.
Okay, so is the question that we want to have a subcommittee for interviewing, or do we want to have a new HR director dealing directly with the headhunter committee and then narrowing it down to like 3 or 5 candidates? I thought that was the first question, and then we were having a second question from my preliminary meetings with staff members earlier this week, and then I thought that then it would be a question, that or the other, and then deciding who or whatnot. But did you have open meetings when you did the director for HR?
No, he's not a director. He's not our acting director.
We didn't need it.
For the one position, Jerry?
We didn't need it for the HR director.
Yes, because that's the one you appoint. The HR director, executive director appoints.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Attorney Wilt. Okay,
Thanks for the point of clarification.
Jose Luis Melendez, so it comes back and setting aside whether we have a public meeting or not, would you feel comfortable with the entire board looking at 10 people, or would you feel comfortable with 3 people or 4 people looking at some of the candidates?
Honestly, I'm good with 3 or 4 people looking at the. But
Trustee Kelly Benavides, what is your thoughts on this, Myri?
I agree that to be able to schedule all of us to be sitting in these interviews, I don't see that being realistic. But I would like maybe 4 board members to go through them, but at least give us the top 4, top 5, probably nothing less than that to come to the full.
Okay. Trustee Robin Wally-Munier, back to you. What would you prefer? Absent the question or the answer that we have to have a public meeting, would you prefer everybody sitting on the interviews, or would you prefer a committee?
I think a committee would be the better choice.
Okay. Dr. Rogers?
I prefer having a committee review the full pool of candidates and then narrow it down for the full board.
Okay. Almost promoted you, Elizabeth Foyt.
Got to go back to school. I served last time, would like to do so again. I think it should be an odd number of individuals, so you can come to some consensus as we move forward. But it definitely should be a smaller, I'd say no more than 5.
Okay. And then Brian Wilson, your thoughts on this, absent the open meeting question?
Well, I'd definitely like to be involved in it, since
Okay.
I'm going to be here for a lot of years. But in reference to, I know you're saying absent the open meeting, but my thought is no matter who meets with them, it's still going to have to be an open meeting. Why not just open it up to treat it as a quorum of who shows up, and we don't worry about scheduling. There's 10 of us. This is when the interview is scheduled, and if 5 of us make it, 5 of us make it, and the other ones that didn't make it, didn't make it. This way we know we're going to have at least 5 there to get the quorum, and that satisfies both ends of it. And just don't worry about the scheduling.
Okay.
Quorum is 6. FYI, Chair Ortiz, this is Allison Boyer.
Oh yeah, sorry, bad math.
Thank you.
Be a committee of the whole, in which case you wouldn't need a quorum.
Okay. Trustee Santa Raymaker.
I'd like to see a committee, and I would like to be considered for that committee. My concern with all of us trying to do it, and you talk about who's here, who's not, is if we're interviewing, in person, like we, a group, or if we're interviewing virtually, you pull the whole combination together. So I would prefer a committee.
Okay. Let's see, Marilyn Francis Drake, you don't get off the hook.
Well, I'm kind of torn because I probably won't even be serving with this person more than maybe a month or two. But on the other hand, I've been here quite a while, and so I'm kind of torn. Interviewing and hiring are my two favorites, my two least favorite things in the whole world that I've done in my life. But I do think it's important, since this is the only position that we actually hire a person for. I mean, all the rest of them are virtually left up to somebody else. This is the only person, and I think it needs to be the group as a whole as much as possible. I agree with Brian. If the interviews happen and we have 6 people there, which we have to have, then that's what we have. If we have 10 people there, then that's what we have. The only problem there would be there are going to be people that you may not have been in on the interview with. So it might be hard to make some kind of a decision. But that could happen if you had a committee of 6 people, too. So, like I said at the beginning, I'm kind of torn. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chair, I'm sorry, can I make one more comment? I apologize.
Sure, go ahead.
So just a couple things that occurred to me while we were going through this. A lot of times, especially when you're talking about this high level, they might be in a position where they don't want to advertise that they're interviewing for another position, and if all of a sudden it was an open meeting, you sort of lose your ability, especially at a point where it could be 15 people. I think once you get to 3, that's a little bit different. But I just think we might lose some great candidates on that. And then my other question is to council. So if we create a committee, and you're going to have to remind me, what is open meeting? Like you're saying if there is even 3 of us, based on open meeting law, we couldn't, is that correct?
Yes, the Attorney General that indicates that any trustee is involved with hiring a public officer, in this case a director, that it has to be a posted public meeting, be it a subcommittee or one trustee, because it is the only job, because of specific rules. Generally, for a public officer, everything that concerns them has to be in an open meeting, posted, open to the public. So yes, that's why we've been able to do it in the past, is that they narrowed it down to 3 or 4. All that took place through the hiring agency, and then the trustees became involved, and it became open.
Thank you. Trustee, this is for Director Serpico. So it's a conundrum. Under Nevada law, the individuals that we sit, even one person has to be posted as a public meeting. So if I had a job, there's no way I'd apply for this job because my other boss would hear it. So in your experience, if you don't have any, that's okay. If in your experience, would we get more candidates or would we lose candidates?
You would probably lose candidates.
Okay.
Based on that, yeah. And
Okay.
my experience is working with a board committee to do the initial screening, although in a private, not-for-profit, and then bring that forward to the board for selection.
Okay, so it brings up the next question. Is the advertisement has not gone out, correct?
That's correct.
So one of the issues for us is in the advertisement that the last 3 or 4 people need to be interviewed in a public meeting. Jerry, how would that work?
As it's worked in the past, is the headhunting organization narrows it down and then presents it to you, but then the discussion of the 3 finalists has to be in a public meeting.
Okay. So I think, the answer is been given without us not, but let's go down real quick. Shannon, Bilberry, Axelrod, we have a committee, we voted for it. Would you like them to bring forward, one option is for them to bring forward 3, 4, 5 people for the entire board to interview.
My opinion would be no more than 5, but I think it should be a situation where they're ranking them. So we're going to go have the executive committee but if they end up with the top 2 have this score, but then the next 3 have the next score, then we should have 5. But if it's like a blow, you know what I mean? Like, I think it should be a little bit of a moving target.
Thank you very much. Jose Luis Melendres, would you prefer, if this is the direction we go, would you prefer the entire board interviewing 10 people, or having the search committee bring forward 3, 4, or 5 candidates for us to interview all in a public meeting?
I would go with that second one, have them bring 4 or 5 candidates forward.
Okay. Ms. Kelly Benavides, if we decided to have either have an open meeting with all the candidates, or would you prefer the search committee come forth with 3, 4, or 5 candidates so that the entire board can?
Search committee bringing at least 5 to the entire board, but that search committee should be, I know we have a combination of some, older seasoned trustees and some newcomers to the board. It has to be a combination where you have some of the trustees that have gone through it before, and especially these newcomers, we need to get them involved to get their feet wet as well. So I want to have a really good combination of what that search committee is going to look like.
Okay, so, and then we'll get back to that in a quick second here.
You're saying search committee, are you talking about the
No.
search committee with,
No.
what's her name?
I'm talking about the board members to do that
Oh, you're talking about a subcommittee. There's two different words to use here.
So, if I can take the floor here, I don't believe there will be an opportunity to do a subcommittee of the board.
That's what I thought.
We either have to do it all as a whole and interview 10 people, or have the people we're paying to do the search bring forward 3, 4, or 5 people, and the entire board sit on that interview, each interview. So, Ms. Benavides, we cut you off.
I think-
Hang on a second. Ms. Benavides, is there anything else? Kelly?
No, that was the end of my comments.
Okay, Shannon, go ahead.
I apologize. I thought one of the options, I thought we had said that we could take the executive committee, and I'm talking about the people who are here in the room right there with you, Betsy, have that e-board interview the top pick. No? Is that, we never discussed that? Okay. Okay.
Okay,
I
thank you so
don't think
much.
that would be appropriate.
Robin Wiley Munier, you have the floor again. So would you prefer 3, 4, or 5?
Okay, I think we might need to start over here because I think that some people are thinking executive committee, meaning the executive committee for the library. Others are thinking executive committee of this board. Some of us are thinking subcommittee, and now then, and I think Kelly was as well. I don't want to speak for her, put words in her mouth, but and then others, you were saying no, it's not a subcommittee, it's the search committee. Please tell me her name again.
Jane Weisner.
Jane, okay.
May I make a recommendation?
I think we need to be very specific in our questions.
Well, I'd like to make a recommendation to the board. Maybe what we can do is Jeff works with the recruiter, bring you back 5, 6, however number of applicants, top applicants that you would like, and that way they're not in the public yet until we present it to the board. So we'll have, if you let Jeff work with the recruiter, maybe I can work with him, but since I don't have a vested interest in this position, and I know you all like me, so I don't have a vested interest in this position, so maybe Jeff and I could work together and present you with the top 5 candidates.
Okay, Director, we're not quite there yet. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you in a second. Brian Wilson, Dr. Rogers, any thoughts?
I didn't vote.
We haven't voted yet.
Oh.
This is comments. This is question and comments on whether 11 people look at 10 people, or whether the people we're hiring look at them and bring 3 or 4 people to us.
I would like to.
I'm not in favor of any scenario where it's going to necessitate that all the board members can participate in the beginning of the process. So I'm going to be in favor of whatever process that allows candidates to come to the board, whether it be through the search committee or some other subcommittee of the board, to bring a lesser number to the board to interview.
Okay, thank you very much. Robin Wally Munjay, you still did not finish your comments, so sorry.
Well, I didn't get to say whether I preferred one or the other once we
Please.
clarified that. I would prefer that the search people bring us at least 5. I would agree that we need 5, not 3, to pick.
Are you talking about the search company?
The search company, yes, because I think we limit ourselves to applicants if we try to have open meetings, even though I'd love to do that because I was on the previous search with Shannon and others, and I would like to be involved too, but what I like is not what's important, it's what we can do to get the best candidates here is what's important.
Okay, thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, your thoughts on?
I think that this ties into the public meeting comment of before, let them bring us 4 or 5, and we just as a whole deal with the 4 or 5.
Thank you so much. Trustee Sandra Raymaker.
I have a quick question, actually for our attorney. Could this be done in an executive session where it didn't have to be, since it is labor, without causing the candidates to be concerned about the job they have currently?
No. No, it can't. No, it cannot be. It has to be open to be a posted opening if a fee is involved.
Okay. Any more questions? No?
No.
Okay. Marilyn Francis Drake.
I just needed a clarification. So once these people come before the board, whether it's a committee on the board or whether it's of 6 people or whether it's the whole 10, 11 board members, that has to be an open meeting and they would be exposed, basically. Is that correct?
Jerry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I would be comfortable with a committee of 5 or 6 people and have them bring the candidates forward. Or I would also be comfortable with HR and Fred working to pick a certain group.
No.
But preferably the first.
Thank you very much. So that is why it's real critical that the criteria for the director, we determine the criteria. Okay, so now, having heard all that, so to belabor the point.
I'd like to.
Oh, go ahead.
If I may.
Point.
I do not believe that it is appropriate or logical to involve staff in the hiring or selection or narrowing of candidates process for the individual who will be their superior. And I think we need to think long and hard about that, folks. That's not, this is the only decision that we make in hiring. We don't need other fingers. We need to be a strong board, and we need to find the right executive director for this facility. We do not involve individuals who will be subordinates, no matter how qualified individuals are, including our new HR director. It is not appropriate, and it just boggles my mind that anyone would think that it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So what we have here is, we heard from our HR director that we would lose candidates if they come forward to a public meeting without knowing that they're in the maybe top 3 or top 5. Is that correct? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
That's correct.
Okay. So that's the first issue. So one motion that I will entertain is whether any candidate that, the top 10 candidates by the search firm that are brought forward be interviewed during a public meeting, and the entire board is invited, but we at least need 6 people on that board. And at every meeting, I can assign somebody as a chair to run the meeting, somebody different to run that one meeting. So if there's an option for that, that's one motion. The second motion would be that we allow the search committee of Destiny Executive Search Group to bring us at least 3, but hopefully 5 candidates that they rate to bring forward to us, to the board, to then interview in a public meeting. And that's if those candidates want to be interviewed in a public meeting. So I believe that would be our options. Jerry, does that sound about right? Clear as mud?
Yes, it does.
May I have a question?
Yes, go ahead, Trustee Robin Wadimye.
Could we just have, this is a question for Jerry and Chairman, yourself, and the acting director and the HR director, all of you, would we just be able to have the search company interview people without employees being involved? Nothing against our wonderful acting director and our brand new HR director and our executive team and any of us up here or anything else, but would they be able to do that and bring us 5 candidates, and then we, as the board, interview them, and it be an open meeting? Because if it's down to 5, I mean, I don't know, if they're not willing to take a risk to be here, then they're not leaders.
So to answer your question, that would be incorporated in the second motion.
Well, I'm asking Jerry, is that okay? Is that legal?
Yes.
That would make everybody happy.
We don't necessarily have to hire one of those 5 that show up.
No, we don't.
So,
We don't have to. We
I
can
mean,
start
they could
all
be
over
lovely,
again.
or they could be those that we will look further.
So,
Would you like the motion?
well, let me think about this one more time, because I don't want to box ourselves in here. And time is of the essence, and if we don't do something today, 80% are going to be off this board by the time you get a new director. So that's the reality. So I would appreciate if we didn't kick this down the road if we made a decision tonight. Sorry, if you got to call your kids or call home, please do. Okay, so the first motion, there's 2 motions that I'll entertain. One is that the entire board interview 10 candidates. At those meetings, we need at least 6 people to show. Not everybody needs to show, but we need at least 6 people. And I will take the time to appoint a chair each day differently, each person differently, so that they can get an experience of running the meeting. And then we'd have to do it again with the top 3 people or 5 people. So that's one motion. The problem we're hearing from our HR director is that many individuals will not apply, so we lose the pool of candidates that could be pretty good candidates. The other side is the second motion is to allow the company, and I keep forgetting their name, Destiny Executive Search Group, to let them do their job, vet the individuals, do the advertisement. The notice will have to say that if you're in the top 3 or 5, you will be interviewed in a public meeting. And then allow them to bring us the top 3 or 5, and then as a board, we meet and interview those top 3 or 5. So I'll make a motion on either one. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So I'll take a motion on, Trustee Wilson, you wanted to make a motion?
I move that we designate Destiny Search Firm to locate us at least 3, preferably 5 candidates that are qualified for this position and bring them before the board for a public meeting to interview those 3 to 5 top candidates and ranked accordingly. Thank you.
This is.
I second.
Jose Luis seconds the motion. Are there any questions or comments?
I think the list that comes to the board should not be ranked. It should be unranked for the board to look at them fresh.
So that's the recommendation, Director. Serpico, unranked when it comes to if this motion passes.
I'll amend that motion.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Hang on a second. Robin had the floor here. Robin, go ahead.
My question is then, it's just the search committee, when your motion is just the search committee, no employees involved with it?
Correct, just the.
Okay, thank you.
Clarification, thank you.
Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod, I'm sorry, any questions on the comment?
Just 2 quick comments. I see no issue at all with having Acting Director James be a part of this. He has really no skin in the game at this point. He's leaving the library district, and I think that he would have a unique perspective. And I also am extremely concerned that we're going to lose some really good candidates, but that is what it is, just because of the privacy issue. But I did want to put on the record about Acting Director James.
Thank you very much. Any more comments on the motion before we call for the question? Anybody? Okay, there's a motion on the floor to allow Destiny Executive Search Group to conduct a search on behalf of the board of directors to bring forth at least 3 to 5 candidates for the entire board to interview in a public meeting. Along that, there was a request, an amendment to the motion that the candidates not be ranked. And then my request is that, of course, it be posted in the advertisement so that they know there's no surprise for them. And is there anything else that anybody would like to amend the motion? Request the maker of the motion to amend?
I'd like it to,
Please identify yourself.
I'd like it to say 5, not 3 to 5.
And Robin Wadley, when you asked for 5, would you amend that?
You amend your motion?
I'm okay with amending the motion. I have concerns that if we require 5, they might have a hard time getting us 5.
I second that concern.
Okay.
I agree. That's a concern. I think that we don't need to add to it just because of the fact that we want them to come and do a public meeting. We may not find 5 that are willing to put it out there no matter how much they want the job.
Okay, so then the motion is,
I'd like to stick with the minimum of 3. I'm really worried that they're not going to be able to get us 5 if we force them to.
And we're not locked in to hiring one of the 3 who shows up. Yeah, or 5. Right.
thank you. So the motion will continue as bringing the Destiny Executive Search Group, bringing forward 3 individuals. Now, does anybody have an issue with our director?
It was 3 to 5, a minimum of 3, but
3
preferably
to 5
if possible.
Okay. Does anybody have any concerns with our acting director to be part of no employees to do the interview?
No employee should be involved.
And no employees, sorry.
Yep, I'm not taking that personal.
Thank
You can take it personal if you want. I'll get over it.
So let's call for the question. There's a motion on the floor. All in favor?
What, I'm sorry, is the motion to include Fred or not, or is it back to the original?
Oh, he's not going to be included. Not going to be included.
Saying that they don't think that's okay? I mean, I'd like to get the temperature of other people.
If I can make a statement, I have to agree with Trustee Foyt that no employee should be a part of it, and I think we can keep this process as clean and keep it strictly the person being selected by the board. And so I withdraw my name from it.
Exactly why I wanted him, by the way.
Thank you. All in favor?
I think Kelly has something to say.
Kelly, did you have something to comment?
No, sir.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Was there an aye? Plus at least?
Yes, I said aye.
Okay, sorry, missed that. Okay, anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Whew, okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. See, we can work this through. Thank you so much. Okay, one item that we missed, I need to go back. One of the things that I did not ask for, I need a motion. I'll entertain a motion to accept the reports from staff that we heard. So moved by Trustee Wildman Riley Munier. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Sandra Raymaker, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And then, if I go back to mine, Jose Luis, we were doing appointments to committees. And I have, Finance and Audit, Brian Wilson as the chair, Dr. Rogers, Elizabeth Foyt, Shannon, and, Kelly on that. And then there's a Risk Management Committee. I appointed Marilyn Francis Drake as the chair. And then Dr. Rogers in charge of the Bylaws Committee. Which committees would you like to belong to?
I'd be glad to continue sitting on the Risk Management Committee.
Okay, Risk Management. Thank you very much. Allison, you got that?
Just to confirm, for Risk Management, Marilyn Francis Drake continues as chair. Trustees Foyt, Melendrez, and Raymaker are also on that committee. That's my understanding.
Did we miss anybody?
I don't think so. However, did you want to reappoint the special ad hoc committees? Those are on the back page of that item. The Purchasing Policy Committee of the Whole, Naming Libraries Policy Committee of the Whole.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and reappoint the Purchase Policy Committee of the Whole. Myself as chair and the entire board are members. We also have a Naming Libraries Policy Committee of the Whole. Kelly Benavides, would you like to continue as the chair?
Yes.
Okay, and the entire board serves on that committee. And that's it from my end that I omitted earlier.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on our agenda item. We have a discussion and possible, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Serpico. I've seen that movie 100 times. I know you're not related. A discussion for possible board action regarding changing the street address of the Enterprise, for the Enterprise Library from 25 East Shelbourne Avenue to South Las Vegas Boulevard address. Director Rice.
Yes, Stephen Rice, General Services Director for the record. At the July 23rd meeting of the Board of Trustees, staff was asked to determine the requirements to change the street address for the Enterprise Library from 25 East Shelbourne Avenue to a South Las Vegas Boulevard address. In order to initiate the change, the district is required to submit an address change request application to the Clark County Department of Comprehensive Planning. Comprehensive Planning has communicated they are not going to require any site modifications. However, the district will have to ensure compliance with the county's address policy, address display requirements. To comply, the new address signage will have to be placed on the building and site, and we have a preliminary estimate from one of our sign vendors. We're looking at a cost of approximately $19,000.
Are there any questions on this item for the director? Let's start with Shannon Bilberry Axelrod.
I thank you for that. I think this is a really important move. I think that not only does it let people know where the library is, South Las Vegas Boulevard address, but I think honestly, and I hope we never, ever, 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 ever have to sell this property, but I think that should be a determination too. So let's not get caught up too much in the $19,000 thing to realize that this is going to actually be very fortuitous for the library.
Thank you very much. Jose Luis Melendrez, did you have any questions or comments on this agenda item?
No, but I think, yes, we need that Las Vegas Boulevard address. Thank you.
Trustee Kelly Benavides, do you have any questions or comments on this agenda item?
No, sorry, my mute button wasn't working. No questions or comments.
Trustee Robin Wadley Munier, do you have any questions or comments?
comment is it's wonderful news, and I'm thrilled to have it happen.
Dr. Rogers, did you have any questions or comments?
Other than let's move it forward.
Thank you very much. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, we'll wait for your comment to the end of the motion from you. Thank you. Trustee Brian Wilson, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, when this thing first came up a few months ago, all I could see was dollars and dollars and dollars. And hats off to everybody who got it down to those tiny little dollars. Yay.
Trustee Sandra Raymaker, any questions or comments?
No, I'm all for this. I'm glad that it came in at a reasonable price, and I'd like to see us move forward.
Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake.
No, everything's fine, thank you.
Thank you. And my only comment is I'm gonna have to fight with Brian Wilson because I'd like to see a $100,000 neon retro sign with an arrow. And so that'll be for another time.
Maybe in the
Let's
future.
try to get this through here. At this time, I'll entertain a motion from Elizabeth Foyt. Any comments you may have?
First of all, compliments to Mr. Rice. He's been very kind. He's been very understanding in this process. And with the $19,000 investment, we are really buying some future financial comfort for the library system, be it a trade-off for land or straight cash eventually with an alternative location for that particular library. But I couldn't be happier.
And thank you, Trustee Floyd, for your help with this as well.
Well, happy to do it. And of course, our county commissioner for that district, who is also the county commissioner that serves the Windmill Library area, and that's County Commissioner Michael Naft, who was instrumental and enthusiastic from the beginning. So that was wonderful. And I would like to make a motion that we move forward on the $19,000 signage expenses and for the change of address, which we don't quite know what the number will be, but we're moving
8310.
8310. Oh, that's nice.
Love.
Sounds kind of like a Vegas address.
Mm-hmm.
It does. And so 8310 Las Vegas Boulevard South will be the new address for the Enterprise Library. And I would like to make a motion that we accept.
Second.
And the motion will also include to ensure compliance with the county's address display requirements.
Thank you for adding.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that's
Okay,
perfect.
and who was second? Shannon Bilber Axel on second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, 100,000 neon sign.
Add that to a future agenda. We'll talk about it.
Okay, next, we have a discussion for possible board action authorizing the execution of a one-year extension of the library subscription master agreement with Biblio Commons Corporation dated June 23rd, 2017, subject to final review by council. Director? Were you going to do the presentation? Or?
No, we're not going to do one, but Betsy, were you planning to do a presentation on that?
I'd just like to give if the board wouldn't entertain it, just a brief overview of the website and its role and the parts of it, if we could. That's okay.
Please identify yourself for the record.
Good evening, Chair Ortiz, Trustees, Council Wilt, Mr. James, Betsy Ward, Branding and Marketing Director, for the record. And if I could quickly, I wanted to address Trustee Bilberry Axelrod's question about the airport. So I did look that up really quick while I was sitting down, and so that's based on what we call advertising equivalency. So it's not based on impressions, it's based on the amount of money it would have cost us to buy those billboards times the exposure. So it's based on the advertising dollars, and then you multiply it by 3. So that's how we figure that out. So if the advertising rate goes down because of less people coming into the airport, that's what would affect that, if that answers your question. So the website is our key outward-facing representation of our library district. It's basically our calling card to the community. And so the Biblio Commons system is an integrated software service system which is a suite of services that's used by top public libraries across the U.S. Software as a Service is a platform that's used by some of the world's biggest brands, allowing them to benefit from tech's best talent and stay focused on their core business. BiblioCommons offers this same opportunity for libraries, freeing up our IT department from having to manage security updates, bug fixes, responsive design, accessibility, and software upgrades. So I'd like to just briefly go through the different parts. BiblioCore connects the library district's catalog directly to our integrated library system, or ILS, which manages our collection inventory and borrowing. The huge benefit of BiblioCore is that it creates an online browsing experience similar to browsing physical shelves, but with the added exceptional search results. BiblioCore provides tools to manage our customers' library accounts. Unlike other search platforms, it enables library staff and customers to share recommendations and reviews across all BiblioCommons libraries, creating a robust, engaged online community of library lovers. BiblioWeb, which includes BiblioEvents, is a complete website management platform in one easy-to-use package, which is specifically built to serve public libraries. BiblioWeb is basically the public-facing portion of the website, where branding and marketing creates and manages events, content, staff lists, and more to ensure that the website is always fresh, timely, and serves the diverse needs of our customers. BiblioWeb seamlessly integrates BiblioCore and BiblioEvents, allowing customers to stay logged in and engaged as they register for events, place holds, and browse staff lists, blog posts, and the library district catalog. BiblioEvents is our events collector. It provides filters by topic, location, audience, and program, and enables customers to quickly and easily discover all of the events and programs that they might be interested in but never knew existed. The BiblioEvents backend is simple, intuitive, and staff-friendly. BiblioCloud provides automated catalog records for e-content. This service saves libraries time and money by automating the process and adding records and metadata to the customer catalog rather than staff having to manually add the records themselves. It also gives customers immediate access to the digital collections through Overdrive and Hoopla. So if I could take a quick moment to say the way this works, the way we keep this fresh, we have a digital team, which is Ryan Simoneau and Paula Loop, and they every day keep that site fresh, interesting, and compelling. Our design team, managed by Karen Bramwell, which is Jean Kilchenko, Juanita Aiello, Sierra Pedro. And there's no way we could do this without, it really takes a team. So our community events, community engagement staff, they provide the events for the events collector. Our website content team, which is headed up by Rebecca Colbert and Jocelyn Bates, who provides our invaluable e-resource information, and our library operations staff for creating hundreds of staff lists every year. So just a little bit of feedback that we've gotten. So some comments from the public. Stephen told us, I like the new website a lot. It's very clean, fresh, 21st century, and worthy of a city such as Las Vegas. Aaron told us, I love everything about the new website. I think it is very easy to navigate, to review and place holds on books. Super choice of a new system for the library district. Jane said the new site is wonderful and so easy to use. It has excellent new features for the later shelf, and usually revised sites take a while to learn to navigate, but this one was incredibly easy to use. Just a really quick look at our return on investment. So to give you an idea, if you were to take, our external users from July 2019 to January 2020 was about 1.8 million. So if you were to divide that by the annual cost of $256,000 per year, that comes out to about 14 cents per user. And our total website stats since we launched on June 19th, 2018, so total page views across all pages in the website was 35.2 million. Total homepage views was 8.1 million, and total website users was 2.8 million. So for our background, the Library District entered into a 3-year library subscription master agreement with BiblioCommons, Inc. on June 23rd, 2017, following board approval of the contract in March 2017. BiblioCommons specializes in public library website features for e-commerce and community engagement. The community hosts websites for 200 public library systems, including Chicago, Illinois, King County, Washington, Multnomah County, Oregon, Pima County, Arizona, Seattle, Washington, and Boston, Massachusetts. During their first year, BiblioCommons worked closely with the branding and marketing and IT departments on design, planning, development of the new site, new content, migration of the library district's catalog, as well as other existing content over to this new platform. New website features and functionality included an integrated search experience across the catalog, website, and events calendar, the library collection highlighted via staff lists and comments from the public, and multiple ways to promote customer engagement between the website and the library district's social media channels. The new lvcclb.org officially went live to the public on June 18, 2018. Over the past 2 fiscal years, the website increased in total page views by 22.88%. BiblioCommons provides back-end flexibility that allows the branding and marketing department to quickly create and compile content for new audience and special program pages that help to promote library district and foundation services, resources, and initiatives. Audience browse pages that we've created to build engagement recently include an African American page, Asian American Pacific Islander page, an Espanol page, LGBTQ+, veterans, a new Latinx page, which is getting ready to go live in a couple of weeks, and a Native American page, which we are working on. Special program pages include Summer Challenge, the digital e-card, our curbside service /reopening/browsing, which all was the evolution of the pages which you saw in my board report during the library closure. The Census 2020 page, including an Espanol version, and last but not least, our very popular Vegas Golden Knights collectible bookmarks page, which includes the Chances Chat blog. When the library district closed on March 16, 2020, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, BiblioCommons features and functionalities allowed for a special notification bar that runs across the top of the entire website and a prominent hero banner at the top of the homepage to notify the public of important changes in library services and operations. The launch of a secure staff updates page on March 19, 2020, that staff can access from home to receive up-to-date information on library services and operations, as well as COVID-19 related issues and procedures. And the promotional launch of the Library District's e-card on March 26th, which provides a way for residents to visit our website and receive instant access to online resources. The fee for the proposed 1-year extension of the library subscription master agreement is $255,128.54. Order Form 1060 details the cost for BiblioCore, BiblioWeb, BiblioCloud Records, which include Overdrive, BiblioCloud Records, which includes Hoopla, BiblioFinds, and Spanish for BiblioCore. Authority to execute the contract is subject to review by legal counsel. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Merlin. Francis Drake, did you have any questions or comments on this?
No, my only comment is that in these times, this kind of communication with our patrons is probably even more essential than ever. And I think Betsy and her group have done a good job of getting it out there to everybody that needs to see it and the people that are going to need to use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, do you have any questions or comments on this?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Brian Wilson, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, I have a few actually. I mean, for those of you that don't know already, this is my space and what I've done for 20 years. First of all, we had an ongoing issue with Biblio that we've been trying to work through, updating analytics to solve a problem. Have we heard back from them yet?
About which?
Ryan might be better to answer on this one. The internal versus external traffic that requires modification to the analytics side of the software.
Was this related to the California law that was
Yes.
passed? No, we haven't heard back. They're working on that still.
She did receive the ticket. They're
Yes.
reviewing the article that you shared with them right now.
Okay, so we're still pending that.
Yes, yes.
The reason I bring that up is for the federal board here, it lets us keep an eye on what we're serving in the outside world versus what's just somebody logging on here in the branch. And it's currently a technology limitation that got missed. That was there and has been gone for a few months that we desperately need back, which plays into the contract here. My understanding talking with the director is they attempted to raise our rates over previous years, and Fred and Betsy had to go back and forth with them a bit to get them to hold the line on the current rates for this year. Is that?
Betsy negotiated the contract.
Do you remember what they were asking for on the increase?
Oh, boy,
Roughly?
I think it was about a $3,000 step up per year, I think, $3,000 to $4,000 per year, something like that.
The reason I ask is I know Biblio was bought out and
Mhm.
now has a new parent company. Again, being in this space for a long time, they now have a board that wants to justify that purchase price. And I have concerns that we're going to start seeing them trying to come back at us for big chunks of money in years down the road. I personally would like to see Fred go back and try to negotiate a longer term with them to keep the rates down, especially with what we're going to be dealing with the economy in the years to come and the shortfalls we're going to have in budgets in the next few years. I'd like to have a little more security on our end that they don't come back 1 year later and try and get another 30 or 50 grand from us, and let's try and get a little bit longer term. They gave us 3 years the first time. Let's see if we can get the parent company to give us 2 or 3 years and hold the line on rates. That's just my opinion.
Thank you very much. Elizabeth Foy, do you have any questions or comments?
Did they offer us an option of a multiple year contract
Yes, they did.
at an elevated price point or the?
No, it was a flat rate.
Would
flat
we
rate.
change the proposal to include a 3-year contract? Trustee Wilson, what do you think?
The issue with this particular contract is not just in the pricing, it's total the way the contract was originally set up. One of the things that you lose your negotiating edge is when you have a contract that's an automatic renewal. This contract had a 3-year automatic renewal, and if you don't get back to them, it's automatic renewal, and then you go on, and you're kind of stuck. Now, Trustee Wilson brought up a point that there was an issue with the contract. If that contract had came to an end, we would have a better negotiating seat on pricing. We would have a better negotiating seat on getting a fair pricing for the next 3 years. But when I saw that this contract had an automatic extension, I would have never personally signed a contract with an automatic extension. So what we did, I wanted to be able to go back and negotiate any items that may be in this contract with a fully review conducted by our legal counsel, Jerry Wells, to make sure that this contract is in line with the things that we need to have in this contract, the things that protect the district over the next 3 years and the life of this contract. In this particular contract, I didn't feel that an automatic 3-year renewal was appropriate for the district.
So,
Thank you very much, Elizabeth Foyt. Any more questions?
No, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Dr. Rogers, any questions, comments?
My only comment would be, I agree with Trustee Wilson, if it makes sense, financial sense to commit to a multi-year agreement, if there are not performance indicators in the current contract, I would suggest that that be something that's strongly considered to be added to the contract, and that we get an option to cancel the contract for performance if we're not getting what we're paying for, or responsiveness. I mean, there's different ways to account for performance.
Thank you very much. Robin Wiley-Munier, any questions or comments?
It's my understanding that those things are not in the contract at this time, and that is exactly why the recommendation is being made to only do a 1 year, so that gives us time to go back and make those requests and have our legal counsel help us with redrafting that. That was the way it was explained to me, so now I'm confused if that's not the case. Because I do have a concern that if we don't lock in a price, but yet at the same time, and I do know that this service, and I've had the pleasure of visiting their booth at conferences and stuff, and they are a wonderful company. And forgive me, I forgot who bought them out.
Who is the new company?
I think it's called Polaris.
Oh, Polaris, that's
Yeah.
right. I don't know anything about them. I haven't, met them at conferences or anything. But am I confused on what the situation is as far as why we only want to do 1 year and not the 3 year, and renegotiate the contract at the same time, having Council Welt go through it? Because
that question is for the director?
Yes.
Yeah, it's for our acting director. Yes, sir.
I'm not opposed to a multi-year contract, but I want to be able to negotiate those items out of the contract that we feel that are not appropriate for the district. Also, that we give our counsel to make sure that, who has always done a good job in looking at these contracts, and I've had a number of contracts, Mr. Rice, our directors had a number of contracts that we usually run across legal before we sign.
Right.
And so I want to make sure that this contract that we have with Biglio Commons is appropriate and has safeguards and performance measures and success of this contract. So I didn't know anything about this other item that just brought up this tonight, but we want to make sure we have some kind of performance measure or due performance, that we're not locked into a contract and then next thing you know, we're trying to fight to get out of a contract. So I'm not opposed to a multi-year agreement as long as we get review by legal with legal's final review.
Mr. Chair, if I could real quick.
She has the floor. Hang on a second. Anything else?
No, Mr. Chair, that and acting director, that answers all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Wilson, go ahead.
Just to Robin's point, that right now we're in a perfect position. I think we'll have no trouble at all if we ask Mr. James to go fix that contract. I think we have the leverage to get it done right now with this new parent company buying them out. They're not going to want to risk losing a big fish customer like us. So now's the time to do it.
Thank you very much. Trustee Kelly Benavides, did you have any questions or comments?
First of all, I'd like to thank Trustee Wilson. I know a lot of us on the board have our certain niches and expertise. So I just want to thank Trustee Wilson for kind of taking the time and looking into this. This is your forte. I'd ask that you take kind of a very hands-on on this, kind of guiding us as trustees, this being your field. I kind of agree with you. I mean, the time of that we're at right now, I think it's a perfect time to kind of negotiate. I'd like to figure out like how we got this in this hole to start with. It looks like a very pricey tag for not getting what we want and the quality that we want. So with that said, I'm okay with maybe going back to the drawing board to them and negotiating, but having Trustee Wilson kind of take a hands-on on this, I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Trustee Jose Luis Melendez, any questions or comments?
I concur exactly with what Kelly just said, and also thank Trustee Wilson for his knowledge of this area, and that it is critical that we negotiate this contract so that it does fit our needs and what we need to do with that. So yeah, 100% with Kelly and with Trustee Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Shannon Bilbray Axelrod, any questions or comments?
Once again, I do concur with my fellow trustee, and I do think exactly what she said. I love that Trustee Wilson brought up the fact that we are a big fish, because that's what I was thinking the whole time. And we're, like the 11th largest district in the nation. They're not going to want to give us up. But I do think that acting director James had some very valid points, and I think we might need to drill down on that a little bit. What he was saying, that he wasn't okay with the contract that had the 3-year renewal. So I just think, I don't know if we have to have an action item on this. It kind of sounds like it needs to happen, but I would defer to acting director.
Thank you very much. The only comment, thank you. The only comment I have is, okay, just tell the truth. The truth is every contract has to be read by our attorney. And my education, there should never be an auto renew, because anything above 50,000 has to come back to the board. So whoever put that auto renew does not know how to work with governmental agencies. The contract is a contract. It's a step contract, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but never an automatic auto renew. So if you see that, any of the directors in your contract, please run to our attorney before you sign it. Okay, so having said that, we heard comments on this. Trustee Wilson, did you have a motion?
Yes, I move that we direct the director go back to BiblioCommons to negotiate a new contract that addresses his concerns and legal's concerns with the flaws in the current contract, and to try to negotiate a term of 3 years not to exceed $255,128 per year.
Did you say 2 or 3?
Up to 3. Okay. Yeah.
Up to. Are there any questions on the motion?
I second.
Okay, I'm sorry, second by Robin Wadley Munier. Are there any questions on the motion? Go ahead, Shannon.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that motion doesn't put us in any jeopardy of losing the services in the meantime, because we now are pushing this, kicking the can down the road, and I just don't want the services lost. I just want that on the record.
Okay, any other comments on this motion?
I have a question.
Yes, Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, go ahead.
When is our current contract due to expire?
Well, it would have been the end of the fiscal year, but because of COVID, they've obviously given us an extension, and I had been negotiating with them several months prior to that, as required by the contract, to give them notification as to what our intentions were. And that's when, we could see COVID coming down the road. And so that's when I went to them, this new owner, and I had to explain to them, libraries are not money pots. This is a nonprofit world. And they took a little doing, a little back and forth, but they respectfully came back and agreed. I'm sure we were not the only library client who was telling them that. And it took a couple weeks, several weeks of back and forth, and they agreed to give us a flat rate.
The current contract that we're under right now was signed and approved by a previous board, correct?
It was, and council was very involved in the process.
Okay. Thank you.
That's not correct.
You gotta approve the automatic renewal.
Excuse me?
Say that again, Jerry.
I have never approved the automatic renewal. Just so that's for the record. It doesn't mean that whoever is ultimately responsible for the contract does not choose to override my advice. But I agree with you. Never should there be an auto renewal in the governmental agency.
Thank you. Are there any more questions?
I need a clarification,
Kelly?
if I may.
Actually, Kelly, go ahead.
I don't understand how we got into the situation then. If who signed the contract?
That would have been Dr. Hazen.
I can answer. Yeah, I can only give advice to my client. My client does not always choose to follow it. And my responsibility is to make sure we're protected as much as possible, but sometimes there's a business decision to ignore that.
If I may add in, Jerry, most of the contracts that we sign, we usually try to get Jerry's signature on the contract. This MOU that we'll probably most likely be working on in one of our other agenda items tonight, will have Jerry's signature on that contract. I prefer Jerry's signature on every contract that I do to show that he has reviewed that contract and he's in agreement with what's in those documents.
Thank you very much. Shannon Bilbrey-Axelrod, you had a comment on the motion?
I just need some clarification. So Jerry's signature was not on this contract, but Betsy actually just said that Jerry was very involved in that contract. So I'm trying to resolve those two statements.
So Council Wilt is correct that he gave advice to Dr. Hazen, and Dr. Hazen, for his own reasons, decided to go ahead with it the way it was written.
I have a question. If it was over $50,000, doesn't that always have to come to the board?
No, it did come to the board.
It did.
It did. So the board did vote on it,
Yeah, but, yes,
but we didn't necessarily know about the little,
read the contract.
yeah, okay.
Okay, having no further questions, all in favor on the motion by Brian Wilson, seconded by Robin Wadley. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay, motion carries. You up to 3-year contract. Thank you, sir. All right, next agenda item is a discussion and possible board action authorizing the execution of a 1-year memorandum of understanding with the City of Las Vegas Youth and Social Innovation Department, try getting that on a business card, for the operation of the Vegas Strong Academies with SafeKey and Ignite services at multiple library district locations, subject to final review by council. Please identify yourself for the record.
Danielle Milam, acting deputy director. Yeah. Trustees, we're very excited to bring this item forward to you. Not the best of circumstances, but 3 weeks ago, the Clark County School District Board did vote to conduct all their classes this year, or at least for the next 90 days, as distance learning. And a couple of weeks ago, we heard from the chair of the County Commission, Marilyn Kirkpatrick, who was asking all agencies and nonprofits in the region to step forward and see what they could do to help students and families find appropriate classrooms for academic achievement. And so she requested that agencies submit a project plan and budget, and over the last couple of weeks, all of our team has come together, all of the departments, to put together this plan before you this evening. We did find a partner with the City of Las Vegas, Department of Youth and Social Innovation, who have been running the SafeKey and Ignite programs, and they were very interested in working with us as their staff were excluded from working on the school campuses. We've been working with Council Jerry Welt to put together an agreement, which will be a memorandum of understanding that would lay out the responsibilities and roles of each of the parties. And the way that it is shaping up, although we're still sort of building this plane while it's getting ready to fly, is that our responsibilities would be to provide the space, security, janitorial services, public Wi-Fi, and some school supplies and technology that would be available to the students, including 30 public laptops at each site, along with a recharge station and some headsets with mics. The proposed scope of the City of Las Vegas would be to provide turnkey operations for Vegas Strong Academies run by the Safekey and Ignite staff. We have submitted a plan for these services and operations to the County Commissioner's office. She never represented that she would help reimburse those costs. However, she did represent that she would be taking our budget forward to both our congressional and state representatives to see if we could find some sources of funding. We do see this partnership as a very major way to step forward in our community, as a lot of families are really struggling right now to figure out how they will both work and educate their kids. We see this partnership as a way to promote our library services to new families that may not have known about us before. We think it is advantageous in that it does create work for our outreach team and some of our PAC and SPS people who will act as liaisons at the 7 sites that we have proposed. As they went forward today on the registration for the city sites, we are hoping that they will at least open 4 of the sites tomorrow, based on your vote tonight. And we do have 3 other sites available to them once the full capacity is reached in the city community centers as well as those 4 libraries. We do believe that this program ensures that some families will get the connectivity and devices that they are lacking now. And we do believe that it is a demonstration of our capacity in the community to step forward for a very critical community conditions. I'd like to thank all of the team members who were really part of this. Every single department played a role, and we wouldn't be here in front of you this evening if we hadn't all really been scrambling on this, and we hope that you do approve this so that we can be part of the agencies and nonprofits that are working together to make sure every student in this community has an opportunity to succeed.
Thank you very much, Trustee Shannon Bilbrey, Vice Chair Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod. Do you have any questions or comments?
This warms my heart so much, and I thank you. And this is exactly why I love this library district, that you guys saw the need, she made a call, we pivoted, and we're able to do this. So this is fantastic, and I don't want to overstep, but I'd be happy to make the motion when we come to that point. So thank you to everyone who worked on this, and trying to give some kids some sense of normalcy in this time is paramount. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Jose Luis Melendez, any questions or comments on this item? Jose Luis.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to see that we're moving forward with this. This is greatly needed, and I'm glad that we're taking a part in this opportunity to collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Kelly Benavides, any questions or comments on this item?
So this is what I've always said, that, as a library district, we're not just a building full of books. I mean, we are everything to everyone. And during the recession, we stepped up and, we had to change some of our things that we were doing in our library. And with that said, now we have to change, how we're servicing our community. And I just want to thank our staff. I want to thank just the partnerships. I know sometimes people say that entities don't work together well. We can show that we have. We've worked well in a lot of aspects, a lot of nonprofits, and now, we're taking on something that's very new to us, but I know that we'll do great. So I want to thank staff for that.
Thank you very much. Trustee Robin Wadley Munier, any questions or comments on this item?
Well, I have one question. Are we doing an MOU? When we talked earlier, we talked about leasing it. I was so excited
I can
over the
update
whole
you,
news.
Trustee Wadley Munier.
Pardon me?
I can update you on that.
Okay.
So Jerry and I are going back and forth, and he had suggested at one point a lease, but when we started looking at the various requirements under the leasing and COVID, it seems to make more sense, but I'm not going to speak for Jerry. Would you like to speak to that yourself?
Would council?
Yeah, it's, Daniel so aptly put yesterday, we're building a plane while we're in the middle of flight. So it's sort of hard to put this all together because we have literally 3 different organizations trying to do it. So using a lease, I thought was going to be unduly restrictive. SafeKey and the city have put together manuals and other things that they'd have to rewrite if I made this a lease. So do it as an MOU, we may be able to incorporate all that. And I'm hoping to have a rough draft tomorrow, or at latest Saturday, so that we can try to piece this all together.
And you're correct, trustee, that it is a 1-year term. We're anticipating that it would go through the second semester, but if it needs to, if the school's open, we would obviously move the program back there.
Well, you know how excited, thank you, Council. You know how excited I was when we first talked about this. This is just like wonderful. So this is why we're not only the 11th largest, but we're also one of the most desired. Whenever I've been at a conference, everyone talks about all the different things we do here and our innovation, and this is just another example. Thank you all the staff that was involved in this. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rogers, any questions or comments on this agenda item?
I support this 1,000%.
Thank you very much. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, any questions or comments?
I would follow Trustee Rogers and agree that this is a really wonderful program. I would like to see it grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, any questions or comments?
Quick comment and just a couple of questions to get it on the record. Love that Commissioner Kirkpatrick was thinking out of the box to pick up the phone and call us, and I'm glad we're in a position to step up to the plate. Excited about the program, but just to be fiscally diligent here, we're talking about the first semester, but an MOU to go a year. What's the fiscal impact on our end for the part that we have to cover?
The budget that we submitted to the commissioner included around $200,000 worth of cost, including, as I said, the additional janitorial, and then we did factor in the additional purchase of technology and earbuds and headphones.
And I know the commissioner can't do anything, but I mean, she's going to try to help us find sources if possible. But I have to ask, obviously there's a huge savings to the school district not having to air condition their buildings, open their buildings, everything else. And these are costs that we're going to have to, use our theaters, I believe I was told.
Correct.
And rooms like that. I know we've sent any requests to the school district for them to consider reimbursing the expenses back to the library, that since this is a direct savings to their not having to open up their end, maybe we can get just a thought down the road, something we can ask for.
Director, quick response?
Well, if we were to do that, it should come from my board to their board requesting that. So if the board wishes to instruct the staff to do that, we'd be more than happy to do that.
I mean, I'd love to move forward with the program, but I would be happy to at least just do the fiscally responsible thing and ask.
I'd like to make a comment.
Hang on a second. Brian Wilson, any more comments?
Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Foyt, cut you off. Go ahead.
I have met a young teacher who is going to be doing remote learning, and the teachers are going to be placed in their school buildings, in their classrooms. So I know they'll have air conditioning and heating. So their expenses will not come to nil. They may not be taking care of the cafeteria or whatever, but the buildings will be in some use because they'll be doing their remote learning from their standard classroom. So something to consider when we're asking. Maybe there's other delicate ways like the school supplies that they provide, something to that effect.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Trustee Sandra Remaker, any questions or comments on this item?
No, I think this is a great program. Out in Mesquite, we have worked with SafeKey, and they're great people to work with. And we're working on trying to connect this program with the program you have going. So we've been talking, but I think it's a great program. I'm so happy we were going to be a part of it.
And I will say, just additionally for the record, that the Development Department will be submitting grants to and also soliciting other funders to help us defray the cost to the district.
Thank you very much. Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, any questions or comments on this item?
No, great program. I think, Daniil, when we spoke last week, you mentioned that we had a number of employees who were going to be able to take advantage of this. You didn't
Yeah.
mention that, and I thought that was a good point. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee.
Thank you. The only question or comment that I have is, number one, how many laptops are we actually bringing in?
210,
210.
30 for each site.
Thank you very much. And so if you look at, these are comments, my comments, if you look at the locations, 5 of the locations are in an area where huge digital divide. 50 or 54% do not have access to the internet, to the Wi-Fi. And so this is really negligible in the big scheme of things. It's a big service, and then having been around and as old as I am, the minute we ask for money, if we ever lose a building and we need a place to set up shop because there's a flood, there's an earthquake, you know that they're going to come back and try to charge us. So I would definitely be opposed to any request for funding from any other government agency. It just, fiscally, it's the correct thing on the checkoff box, but realistically, there's always, what's the word, payback, and you won't know it, and we won't be around, but there will be that it'll be a quid pro quo, if I can use that overused word. So I'm not in favor of that. But those are my comments. I'm only one person. So having said that, Shannon, I'll entertain a motion on this agenda item.
Thank you very much. I would like to make a motion to authorize acting executive director to enter into a 1-year MOU with the City of Las Vegas, Department of Youth and Social Innovations for the operation of Vegas Strong Academies with SafeKey and Ignite services at multiple library district locations, subject to review by our legal counsel.
Thank you. Is there a second on that motion?
Second, Jose.
Second actually by Robin Wadley Munier. Any comments or questions on the motion? No questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, and please tell the city thank you. Tell Commissioner Kilpatrick thank you also. All right, very good. Almost the last item on our agenda. This is a discussion for possible board action authorizing the acting executive director to adjust the branch hours of operations as necessary.
This item is really in a sense that we're only operating at this particular time at a capacity around about 50%, or just under, right around 50%. With these new programs that we have coming on, with the new SafeKey coming on, hours, some of the staff will have to come in. Our SafeKey will start somewhere at 6:30 to 7 o'clock a.m. in the morning. We have been getting requests from college students to if they could come in earlier to use the libraries in the mornings. And one of the other things that I like to say is that, during my observation, if we don't get to a certain level of capacity, we can probably reduce the hours from 8 o'clock to 7 o'clock, because the times I leave, I've left at 7 o'clock, I've left at 8. I can see that the parking lot is not really that filled. So what we can do, along with this VEST program, we can adjust the hours as needed, and when time comes back, we can always expand backwards. But I would like to be able to have those hours to be flexible and have the ability to adjust those hours when it's necessary. And it will be district-wide.
Thank you very much. Marilyn Francis Drake, are any questions or comments on this agenda item?
No comments. I think that it can be done.
Thank you very much. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, any questions or comments on this item?
No, I agree. I think this is something that Fred can handle quite easily for us.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, any questions or comments on this agenda item?
Nope.
Thank you very much. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, any questions or comments?
This just seems like a very sensible idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rogers, any questions or comments?
No questions or comments.
Thank you. Robin Wadley Munier, any questions or comments?
No, I'm totally in favor of it.
Thank you very much. Trustee Kelly Benavides, any questions or comments?
No questions. No questions.
Thank you. Trustee Jose Luis Melendez, any questions or comments?
None at this time.
Thank you. Trustee Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod, any questions or comments?
Perfect sense, especially as we come into turning, the clock back for daylight savings. Thank you for thinking of this.
Thank you very much. Having heard no opposition comments, I'll entertain a motion for this item. Go ahead, Robin. She'll make the motion.
Yeah, I move that we authorize the acting executive director to adjust the branch hours on operations as necessary.
Sandra Raymaker, I'll second.
There's a second by Senator Raymaker. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the staff, sorry, a little bit of changing, but it's better than us narrowing down the hours and losing staff. So we work with what we have. Thank you very much. Ms. Ellison, did I miss any agenda items?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Announcements. Let's go down real quick. Kelly Benavides, did you have any announcements?
No. No.
Thank you very much. Jose Luis Melendez, did you have any comments or announcements?
No.
Okay. Shannon Bilbrey Axelrod, are you still with us? Do you have any questions or comments?
I do not. I do not.
Thank you so much. Robin Wadley Munier, do you have any announcements?
No.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rogers, do you have any announcements?
I do not.
Thank you. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, do you have any announcements?
I do.
Go ahead.
This would have been the final year, 2021, for the the Midwinter Library Conference from the ALA. It obviously has been canceled. And the ALA conference, which would have been this past June, will again, we hope, be held in Chicago, June 24th to the 29th. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
They have it built back.
Trustee Brian Wilson, any announcements?
Go Knights, go.
Good job. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, do you have any announcements?
Not this time, thank you.
Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, any announcements?
Nothing. My big jamboree birthday party has been canceled for tomorrow.
A couple of announcements. Thank you, everybody. We really value and appreciate you spending tonight with us. Also, the board. These are issues that we leave behind or they stay with us. So we work through them. We work through them here, and I appreciate and value everybody's opinion. And we'll get through this as best we can. And to our acting director, thank you again for all your hard work. Keep doing that. And Danielle, thank you so much. And all the other directors, thank you for stepping forward. We're giving you practice for when the next director comes on, okay? Having said that, no further announcements?
Excuse me, Chair Ortiz.
Yes.
The next board meeting will be held Thursday, September 10th, 2020, at 6 p.m. via WebEx. And I did say at a location to be determined on the agenda, based on your approval of the one of the previous items. It will be at the Summerlin Library, so you'll be back here on September 10th.
Thank you very much. And is there any public comment?
No further public comment.
No further public comment. Thank you for Graham. Graham, I think it was who sent his comments on the director.
Yes, Mr. Graham. I don't have it in front of me. Yes.
Thank you very much. We'll include that in the minutes. There is no executive session at this time.
No.
And so having said that, have a good night. Be safe. Keep wearing your mask.
Good night.
All right, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.
Yes.